Welcome to The Aspiring Kryptonians, a podcast for Superman fans, hosted by Superman fans and focused around all things, you guessed it, Superman. After all, we are aspiring Kryptonians. From comics, TV, film and animation, each week we discuss our thoughts on the latest releases, news and even some retrospective reviews. So without further ado, let's get the show on the road. Hello and welcome to episode 17 of the Aspiring Kryptonians podcast with me, Tasmin, and the rest of the team, Ashley and Evan.
Hello.
This week we're going to discuss our thoughts on Justice Society WWII, Superman and Lois's final episodes, Superman Red and Blue 6, Superman and the Authority 2, Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow issue 3, and Justice League Last Ride issue 4. So we've got quite a lot to go through, and I have 50 pages of notes, so get comfortable. But yeah, before we get into all of those topics, I just wanted to touch upon some of the news that's come up over the past few days. So first of all, it looks like we're getting a Black Canary film for HBO Max starring Journey Smollett-Bell, who starred as the character in Birds of Prey. What do you guys think of that?
Oh, this is exciting.
Okay, I was not a fan at all of her portrayal in the movie, so I will be interested to see if they do anything different for the oh, you know what? Actually, no. I was thought we were talking about Huntress. I was not a fan at all of Huntress in the movie, and yeah, I think the Black Canary from Birds of Prey is workable.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Never mind. I thought we were talking about Huntress. I did not like the Huntress portrayal in that movie.
I liked Huntress. I wrote in my notes actually that I would have preferred a Huntress film before the Black Canary film. So hopefully we get both eventually. But I think Huntress was I liked the actress. So that's probably partly why. Ashley, what do you think?
I thought they got her very right in the.
Oh, sorry.
Keep going.
Go on, Ashley.
I'm super excited. I'm a huge Green Arrow fan, and I've always liked Black Canary. I think she's a perfect foil for Ollie, who is kind of hot-headed and, you know, doesn't always put a lot of thought into his actions until it's way too late. And I thought she was great in Birds of Prey. I loved the actress. She was superb. She could kick ass. Beautiful voice. If she indeed did sing the songs, I hope she did.
You did, yeah.
She was great. You know, performing in Black Mask's club. So I'm stoked for this. This is great. And they did touch upon Black Canary's mother, who has a bit of a history in comics, and obviously Renee Montoya mentioned her in the film, so it'd be quite interesting if they perhaps touch upon that aspect of her life, because it was a very intriguing comment that Montoya made, and it was never touched upon again. So I'd be interested to see if maybe a bit of her past is going to come into the film and connect to her lineage, you know.
Yeah, if they carry on the story from Birds of Prey, then I don't see how they're going to do it going into the future without having Huntress and Renee.
Yeah. Because
obviously they joined at the end and they were doing their own sort of crime fighting. So I think it's going to have to be sort of an origin, or a bit more of an origin story. So maybe we will get to see that.
Or maybe she perhaps goes off and maybe needs to do a bit of soul searching, or, you know, going on her own path, and maybe she runs into a certain Emerald Archer along the way.
Let's hope so.
Hopefully we'll get a Ollie with the proper goatee.
Who would you cast as your Oliver Queen for the film?
Oh, off the top of my head, I don't know.
No?
It would be someone older, someone in their like mid to late 40s, I think.
Oh, okay. I would go for Charlie Hunnam, who was in Sons of Anarchy. I think he looks like him anyway, and I think there's been a lot of support for him to be the character.
Yeah. And he's in his 40s as well now, so it would work.
Fingers crossed. I hope we get to see it. We'll move quickly on to the other bit of news, which I'm really, really excited about. So not only is Tom Taylor is working on another book, which is starring Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman, and it's titled Dark Knights of Steel. So based off the title, I can't really tell if it's a Superman book or if it's a Batman book, because it kind of combines the two perfectly. But based on the name, and we don't really know too much about it other than Yasmin Putri is the interior artist, and the tagline is "Sharpen your blades for a fantasy saga like no other." So yeah, it looks really good. We've seen, well, they've released a load of preview pages and a load of covers, which they all look amazing, and it's sort of Game of Thrones style, Lord of the Rings type story and design. So I'm all here for it.
This is great. I mean, Tom Taylor is like the king of world building at the moment. It seems he just seems to be able to just get it. He gets it, and you know, he's done it with Injustice. He's done it with Deceased. Now he's going to do it with DC characters in a Game of Thrones-esque kind of scenario. So I'm all for it. And the artist, Yasmin Putri, wonderful artist. Some of her covers that she's done in the past have been simply incredible. So I've been waiting a long time for her to do an interior. So this is going to be great.
Yeah.
It's always fun when they put superheroes in those different genres, like they did with Marvel 1607. Did you read that?
Yeah.
No, I haven't read that one.
That was pretty good. They set it back in like the colonization of the United States era. It was good. It was very good.
Sounds good. But yeah, it's, well, all we know so far, we don't really have a release date. We've just been told that it's coming soon. So I guess keep your eyes peeled. But it's 12-issue miniseries, and based on the genre and the look we've seen, I'm guessing it's an Elseworld story and it's not connected in any way to continuity. But yeah, I'm excited.
That's great.
Sweet.
So in the last episode, we covered Batman The Long Halloween Part 1, which is, of course, a DC animated film. So sticking with that theme, we're going to talk about Justice Society World War II. So I kind of wrote these notes as I was watching it. So it's pretty much in chronological order. So I'm issuing a spoiler warning because, yeah, we're going to go into the ins and outs of this film. Overall, I really enjoyed it. And I think I preferred The Long Halloween. Sort of, I know they're totally different, but because we discussed that one last time, I preferred that one. But yeah, it was still good.
Yeah, I think I enjoyed this one a little more than Long Halloween, but just barely, and that's because it's tying into multiple characters, and it's, if you are knowledgeable of the comics, you know it's setting up something that's gigantic, and I can't wait.
See, I don't know what it's setting up. What's it setting up?
It's setting up. Do you want me to say it now, or do we want to talk about it first, and then we can do it at the end of the
we'll do it at the end then.
All right.
Ashley, what were your overall thoughts on it?
Yeah, I loved it a lot. I liked the fact that obviously we had the Long Halloween release, which is a tried and tested comic book that we all are familiar with, and they've gone with something more original, I would have said. You know, not particularly based on a certain book, but lots of characters that we're familiar with. Obviously, a lot of fans were crying out for the Justice Society when they were absent during the New 52, and they've not been too prominent in the Rebirth and onwards. So it's really good to see the Justice Society back. I was really pleased to see them.
Yeah. So in this one, basically, the Flash finds himself thrown back in time to, well, he thinks he's thrown back in time to World War II, where he meets the JSA and accompanies them on a mission to stop the war, and of course the Nazis, but they have quite the influence on him, and he takes back a load of teachings from them with him to the present day. I was going to say the future, but it's not. But yeah, from the start, I really like the introduction to the JSA. So it was like a bit of a roll call that they did. So obviously not everyone that watches the film are going to be totally familiar with all the characters and what they can do. So that was quite nice that you could just sort of jump in and watch it from there and get a glimpse as to who they are and what they're all about. That was quite good. And then the film sort of opens up into present day with Barry and Iris going for a picnic. Well, they kind of attempt to. And this part kind of gives us an insight into the life of being a superhero's other half, which it's one of those things, isn't it? Like it's good and bad, because obviously, you know, you're pretty much going to be safe all the time, or most of the time, but then you're also going to be targeted all the time. And that's Iris is sort of, well, she's kind of angry, isn't she? Because he keeps sort of getting off and leaving because he's going to have to save the world or save the people. So, and they're not allowed to go public with their relationship because of her own safety, which, yeah, I quite like that they kind of explored that, and it's sort of understandable on both parts. Like you can see why she's a little bit upset, but you can understand why he doesn't want to do that.
But it goes back to what we said last week with Superman about, obviously, could he possibly do this 24/7? Could he be Superman 24/7 and rescue everyone and not have a life of his own? And this, I thought, was a perfect sort of examination of that. The answer is no, because what grounds you? What stakes do you have in, the earth and the people around you if you're just totally detached and all you are is a 24/7 hero? So I thought that was a pretty insightful look, and it tied in perfectly to what we were discussing last week. So I quite liked the circle that it made.
Yeah, and you can even if you are strong enough or fast enough or have as much endurance to do it physically, I don't think you would have the mental capacity for it, because I mean you have to let your brain, if you resemble any type of human, you have to let your brain rest, and you have to be filled up, emotionally, spiritually, mentally, as well as physically,
Yeah, for sure.
Someone like a Superman, if you continually doing it, soon you're going to forget what grounds you. You're going to forget what it's like to celebrate a birthday and things like that, because we've seen it in the comics where characters have grown so old, or perhaps they've gone so far into the future without aging, they forget what their anchors and things. So I thought it was fascinating.
Yeah. I liked it too. And then sort of straight off the bat after that, we get to see Superman, he's taken on Brainiac, which was a nice surprise because he's not advertised in any way on the cover. And I didn't know he was going to be in the film. So that was a very welcome surprise. And yeah, the Flash basically goes to help him to take down Brainiac, but he has to run extra fast to stop a kryptonite bullet or ray or whatever it is. And that's what sends him back in time. So he's obviously sort of breached the Speed Force, which I thought that was quite a nice setup to sort of lead them to World War II or that era. I thought that was quite good.
Yeah, and this is clearly, with the inclusion of Superman, it's clearly set in their new cinematic universe that they're building here, with which started with Superman, Man of Tomorrow.
Yeah, because it's got I think his name is Darren Criss, who is the voice actor for Superman at the moment. So yeah,
I can just always know by looking at Superman's belt. It's a very unique belt design.
I have a best friend called IMDb. So then we're in the midst of World War II, and do you know what? I never tire of seeing Wonder Woman take on Nazis. This was like, that opening sequence was great, and it really reminded me of the first Wonder Woman film, because obviously they're set in the same sort of era.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, this Wonder Woman is like tenured already in World War II, and I love her costume. She's got the giant pompadour, hair from the 1940s, and she's got the tight pants, instead of the skirt or the bikini bottom. It's kind of it's a neat way to portray her in that era.
Yeah. Even the music was quite similar. There's bits where it kind of, the Wonder Woman theme, there was bits that kind of sounded a lot like that, which I don't know if it was the same music or whether they sort of remixed it a little bit. But yeah, I like the voice actress for her as well. So it was Stana Katic. I'm not sure if I've pronounced that right, but I think because she's got a bit of an accent, that she also reminds me of that Wonder Woman from the film, because obviously Gal Gadot has the accent. So I think it kind of makes, I don't know, it establishes that take on the characters being a very similar one to this.
Well, I think it's something that kind of makes sense, and they find they're like, you know what, she probably shouldn't have a perfect American accent if she's just arrived from an ancient island, So I like that.
Yeah, I do. And I really like the slow motion of the Flash when the Nazis are about to shoot. I think there's an innocent group of people, and he's basically moving really quickly, moving all their gear, and then once sort of time speeds up again, they all end up harming themselves. So that was good. And it reminded me of...
Oh, sorry.
I can say it reminded me of Quicksilver in the X-Men film.
Yes.
Yeah. I was going to say, I think World War II as well, is such a distinctive period in time. you know, and it's been used countless times in sort of comics, you know, be it like the Wonder Woman film, you know, Captain America's origins are steeped in that period of time as well. Even the Evan, you'll like this, the Justice League cartoon series when Diana meets Steve Trevor.
The Savage Time, yes.
Yeah, it really reminds me of that as well. So,
well, and it's I think it'll always be a touch point in superhero stuff because it is the birthplace of the modern American, or you know, the superhero comic book. You know, it started in 1938 when World War II was just starting. You know, so it's the origin point of superheroes in general.
Makes sense. But in this bit, sort of each member of the JSA got their time to shine. But yeah, Wonder Woman stole the show. She had most of the action sequences because she's kind of like the main character from that group. But yeah, I was almost sort of cheering on the screen when I was watching some of the moments. But yeah, it was great. And then I love how we're introduced to Shakespeare. And then the Flash sort of drops the first hint as to the whole "do I know you" thing, which is, of course, we later find out that he is in fact Superman. And I thought
let's just spoil everything now, because that's the point where we find out about all the spoilers.
Well, I think in my notes I skipped a lot of the film, and I think this is the bit where he reveals himself as Superman. But I thought that was very subtly done, and I like how it kind of just dropped that hint now and then. I don't know. Yeah, so at this time he's a reporter and he's not out to save people, and he's a very different Superman to what we're used to. And then from the Flash obviously questioning him, we find out that he's had a very different upbringing. So instead he was sent to an orphanage instead of being raised by the Kents, so he doesn't have all of their teachings and influences. And then this is what leads the Flash to then realize that he's not thrown back in time, he's actually on a different Earth.
Yes, which was so cool. And this was the first inkling of what is going to happen, because they're setting up a huge epic retelling of DC's comic book history. The very first time you have the Justice Society meeting the Justice League, it's Barry Allen, the Flash, breaching the barrier and meeting Jay Garrick for the first time. So they're paying homage to that. And then this is clearly Earth 2 that he's on, which is later they designate that's the Earth that the Justice Society is from. Earth 1 is Justice League, Earth 2 is Justice Society. And so this is Earth 2 Superman, he has the origins of the original Action Comics #1 Superman. So Earth 1 Superman from the Justice League, back when the multiverse, existed in the way it originally did, he has whatever the modern take on Superman is, that's Earth 1. And then the classic from 1938, green car over your head Superman, that is Superman from Earth 2, and that's this guy. Because in the original comics, in the cartoons, he did not have Ma and Pa Kent. He was sent to an orphanage and raised there. And so as soon as all that came out, I'm like, oh, this is awesome. It's Earth 2 Superman. We see he's got the Superman costume inside the little package that they give him. And it is some great stuff. And I'll save the rest of the comic explaining until after we meet the final villains.
Okay. Ashley, what did you think about that whole reveal?
I loved it. I was very excited as well, just like Evan was. It really reminded me of what the MCU are doing at the moment. Just go off on a slight tangent. They're trying to use characters from the sort of Sony period of time when they were doing the Spider-Man, and they're going to try and incorporate it, into the new Spider-Man or Doctor Strange movies. It's kind of similar. They're taking all the trimmings, all the stuff that they've perhaps retconned over the years, changed up, and they're still using it. There's still value in it, and they're putting it to good use elsewhere, like obviously with the Earth 2 Superman. So it's a real testament to how things are introduced and how they change over the years. And for younger audience members who are watching the podcast, hopefully, they know only one type of Superman. They know the Superman that grew up with Ma and Pa Kent, and not perhaps the Superman from the very early days, you're obviously becoming familiar with doing your big read. So I love that. I love how that they're using everything. Nothing gets thrown away or nothing truly gets retconned out of history. So I like that a lot.
Yeah.
I was very skilled.
That was good.
And it's very nice. It's very nice because in the, you know, in some of the movies, like in the MCU or the DC movies, they try to take all the history and they cherry pick, you know, the best parts and just merge it together into a new history. And for this, it's kind of cool because they're really paying homage to that, not only the in-universe history, but the publishing history of the decisions that have been made, you know, to make the continuity make sense. And I just think it's cool.
I mean, for however many people have like read Action Comics #1 or Superman #1, the character is so vastly different from then to what he is now. I mean, I only probably know a handful of people that have gone that far back. So it's testament to how the character has changed over the years.
And it kind of keeps it open because you can always jump Earths and make films about each one. So obviously there's more than 2 Earths as well. There could be plenty more to come as well. So there's plenty of stories to tell, which is good. And speaking of comics, from what I've read of the Wonder Woman comics, or the comics that I've seen are featured in, I like that they've kind of stuck true to the comics, with Steve Trevor sort of constantly asking Wonder Woman to marry him. I quite like that. It's funny, but it's quite heartbreaking at the same time because you kind of feel sorry for him.
Yeah.
Well, she wants to say yes, but her duty won't let her. And then when it's the end and she thought she'd have more time, she finally says yes. That was heartbreaking. Yeah.
I have to say I'm a fan of Wonder Woman and Superman together.
Yeah, I am. Well, I don't know. I
am after Lois is dead. Lois has to be dead first. And it's okay.
Yeah, I mean, because we're so used to Superman and Lois, I do like reading the comics where it's Superman and Wonder Woman because it's just such a change. But yeah. And then when it comes to the Flashes, so you've obviously got Barry Allen and Jay Garrick. I kind of like how they teach each other things. So at the start, he was kind of doing the tornado thing with his hands when Steve Trevor crash landed the plane. And then the new Flash, I'm going to say the new Flash, Barry Allen started it, and then Jay Garrick came in and sort of joined in to help. And then they were trying to sort the battery out. I can't remember exactly what they were doing it for, but they were running... Yeah, they were trying to get the battery up and running. They sort of worked together, and then they also got trapped in Atlantis, which I'm going to go into a bit more detail in a second. And then the old Flash, Jay Garrick, sort of taught him through how to vibrate through the floor to escape, which was... I quite like that they teach each other things, even though they got the same power set. They've obviously got different experiences in how they've used it.
And it was cool how Jay Garrick knows about what the Speed Force is, and Barry does not.
So he's obviously dabbled before, so be interesting to see what he's seen. Speaking of Atlantis, they kind of head there to meet Aquaman. I think it's for the first time by the sounds of it.
Earth 2 Aquaman.
Okay. And they kind of try and get assistance from him and obviously the Atlanteans, but instead they end up getting trapped, and they find that Arthur Curry has actually been brainwashed by his advisor. And is that Volko?
No. It's Psycho Pirate.
I have no idea who that is. They didn't.
That's the linchpin.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Because when Psycho Pirate is there, you know that it's time for the Crisis on Infinite Earths.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
That's what they're setting up.
Yes, because you start the multiverse with this crossover between the Flashes. Then you have Crisis on 2 Earths, and you have an annual crossover between the Justice League on Earth 1 and Justice Society on Earth 2, and they keep coming together. And then finally, it's the Crisis on Infinite Earths. And the Psycho Pirate is a linchpin character for that. And you can see how he is, like, he just disappears at the end.
Yeah.
He completely disappears at the end. And that's because his master has taken him away. And it's also because, and then you have Dr. Fate, who's alluding to, he already knows the future and he knows what's coming. He knows there's going to be Justice League, even though there's not one yet. And it's all setting up the Crisis on Infinite Earths. And I've been wanting this because it doesn't matter what you do on like the live action or on the TV, there's no way you can tell that story correctly unless it's an animated film. There's just so much happening. There's so much happening. It has to be animated.
I wonder if they'll do that in 2 parts, because there's quite a lot that they have to sort of break up a little bit. Yeah.
I'm open for 3 parts. Let's.
Okay. Okay. Well, we'll soon find out, I guess. I'm sure the announcement isn't too far, because this film's been out for quite a while now, hasn't it? We've just been late to the party. But yeah, so he's been brainwashed by his advisor, who is Psycho Pirate, as you said. I thought it was Volko, and I was like, dude, he's changed. So yeah, the plan there is to sort of be, well, we know what the plan is now because it's leading towards something else, but I originally wrote that their plan is to be on the winning side, so they're going to help the Nazis win. And obviously with the Justice League trapped, they think the Nazis are destined to win anyway, so they're jumping on their side in the hopes to sort of take the rest of the world, because the Nazis have done half of the job, which I thought was quite funny, but quite lazy and sort of quite realistic as to how people might actually tackle a problem. So while they're trapped, the Atlanteans sort of take the attack on the city. And in this bit, we see Aquaman taking over the mind and pretty much riding this massive beast, which I have no idea what it is, but that was epic. And that didn't really happen in the Aquaman film, did it? He didn't take over the mind and use the body.
No, the creature that he talked to in the movie, Julie Andrews, she just kind of sided with him. In the comics, there's a giant creature like that in the New 52 stuff, and I think its brain is too powerful for Aquaman to control, so he's just got to make friends with it.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I suppose all the other creatures that are there, they kind of side with him anyway, so he probably doesn't need to take their mind. So
man, so that giant crab, when they killed that thing, that was the best thing in the whole movie. where he throws the bombs into its mouth, and its shell is so tough that the bombs just blow up inside, and then he just vomits out all of his insides that got blown up. I was like, oh.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
That was just the right kind of nasty.
Yeah. And then it's at this point where the deaths start. So the first one is Hawkman, Carter Hall. So I love the speech that he gives to Black Canary about her living her life and not closing herself off to love after this. That was quite nice. And assuming that they have a thing, because there's a bit of chemistry there. But when he's dying, he says, "I'm coming, Shiera." And I thought that's like a proper punch in the face to Black Canary, isn't it? Because he's like,
they were talking about that the whole movie. Like, she understands that she's destined to be with this other woman. So it's kind of like, why are you in this relationship, Black Canary? Where is this gonna go?
Yeah, she didn't seem to mind, but I would have been furious. But from this, we get this whole revenge moment where Black Canary, and I thought that bit was epic. She kind of she went for it. And I love when superheroes sort of lose their rag and go full power. I quite like that. And then, sadly, Steve Trevor gets savagely killed. And like you said, Evan, Wonder Woman realizes then that she probably should have said yes the first million times he's asked her, and it's too late because obviously he's dead. And I've kind of skimmed over this. I've just literally just put a sentence for that, but onto more important things. Superman makes his official debut in the suit, which was epic. He pretty much smashed up a bunch of Nazi planes, and it was like seeing a Golden Age comic come to life, because there's quite a few comics where he's sort of siding obviously with America in the war. So that was quite nice, because I've been reading those comics, as you know, so it was seemed quite recent.
And he's not flying, he's jumping, which is cool.
Yeah. So the whole Wonder Woman thing and Steve Trevor just puts into perspective things for the Flash, with the whole Iris thing, like we mentioned at the beginning. I've really skimmed over some of the main plot points of this, because I've just got My next comment is about him then going back to the present day and asking her to marry him. So I obviously pick out the bits that were key to me, and I've missed out.
There's one other thing I think we should talk about, and that's when Barry gets back to the present. They just straight up murder Brainiac. Like they just kill him.
Yeah.
With a bullet to the head. Yeah. It's like, wow, okay, you know. And so part of me wonders, like, wow, that's a huge villain to just kill off, you know, as a side thing. So I'm wondering if that's just a drone. But if not, I understand, because we've seen a ton of Brainiac, and we need to make room for some more villains.
Yeah,
in these.
I could still go a bit more Brainiac though. I like Brainiac as a villain, and I think it's only really Krypton that did Brainiac, isn't it?
No, I mean, he's been in the Superman Unbound movie. He's been all over the animated series and the Legion of Superhero series. So he's got a lot of screen time. So I'd be okay with some more villains getting some love.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I'm all for seeing some other Superman villains. Is there anything else to say on that? Because that's kind of where I left my notes about Iris.
I think that's it for me.
Yeah.
I thought it was another really strong outing, I think, for the DC animated movies. Like such a pivotal time in history, and just basically seeing the Justice Society building on their lineage as well. Because, like I said earlier on, they were out in the sort of the ether for a while, so it's nice to see them back at the forefront in animated form, and hopefully they get perhaps their own series soon.
Oh yeah, and
I was gonna say, I will say, I do love Hourman. I think he's a really cool hero. He's got a cool concept where he can only be a hero for an hour a day. And if you want to read a really cool modern take on that, read the latest Damage series, which was very, very good and based on his powers.
Okay. Well, I actually read the Green Arrow 80th anniversary issue not too long ago, and there's a great Wildcat story in that, and just how sort of how so many more famous heroes respect him so much, and he's like taught them things that they've now taken on. Like Batman obviously is in it. He mentions how tough Wildcat is. Green Arrow is like getting the Jesus beaten out of him in this issue. Black Canary is very fond of him, and she's sort of like, he's like a mentor to her. So I like that. I like these characters, and I like what they give to the heroes that have perhaps overtaken them in terms of popularity and things like that. For sure.
Yeah. And so one thing that I didn't mention, but sort of at the beginning when the Flash goes to help Superman with Brainiac at the beginning, they mention that they don't really team up. So the Justice Society in this was kind of the inspiration for the Justice League, because at the end they're kind of, I think he says something like, "Oh, we should do this more often." And
we should like a club.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah,
the Justice Club.
So that's quite nice, but it seems weird that the Justice League hasn't been set up in DC animated universe just yet.
Yeah.
And we'll leave it there on that, and we'll go on to some live action stuff. So Superman and Lois. So in this episode, we'll cover episodes 14 and 15, which of course is the penultimate episode and then the finale. So we'll go episode 14 first. And again, I write my notes as I watch it, so it's going to be in pretty much chronological order. But yeah, I thought this episode was great and I really enjoyed it. So in this one, it's basically the people of Smallville are running riot because they aren't being told the full story by the DEO as to what's going on with Morgan Edge. And of course, Morgan Edge, or Taro, breaks into the facility to free Leslie Law and put the plan into action, or their plan into action, because he's obviously switched to the Eradicator, which I think that's what this episode is called, isn't it?
Yes.
What did you think of this episode as a whole?
It was pretty cool. I really like the Eradicator stuff. I love how he's doing all the energy stuff with his hands, which is very, comic book accurate. We didn't get the shades, so I'm sad, but maybe we'll get them in a future season. Who knows? I don't remember like they're all blurring together to
Yeah.
me, like the two episodes.
That's why I write it as I watch it, because it's just, yeah. Ashley, what did you think?
Yeah, I really liked this episode a lot. I think that I liked seeing Smallville, sort of like in this kind of predicament. You know, the way that the townsfolk are acting, you know, and behaving, obviously with what Morgan Edge is, what he's up to. What I like most about it is you're getting to see a completely different side to the people of this town, because for so long, you know, Smallville is considered to kind of like this sleepy kind of, you know, town, and like the townsfolk perhaps just sit on a bench and chewing corn and what have you. But you're actually getting more identity behind the people that live there, and how they are affected by, you know, Superman coming from that locale, you know, because I mean, obviously in the comic books, you know, when you see perhaps like signposts up, you know, saying you're now entering Smallville, world famous Smallville, home of Superman, and things like that, or so I like that. I like seeing that you're getting the townsfolk, and Smallville is finally getting more than just what it normally gets. Sometimes it plays too much of a silent side character, so I've quite enjoyed that. It's got more personality this time around.
Yeah, definitely. I quite like that Lois sticks up for the town rather than siding with her dad as well, because she wants to actually let them in on what's going on, and she's obviously trying to fight for the truth, which is classic Lois Lane. But you know,
her dad makes a good point to her though, and like kind of gives her a gut check with some of, like, he's like, you know, am I protecting my family or protecting the world? Because you kind of want both, and I don't know which one I'm doing wrong, you know, like, and I was like, oh man, ouch.
Yeah, I think that's the first time we kind of saw him give her a bit of lip, because she kind of gives him a hard time considering his job and like the responsibility that he's got. But it's understandable.
And that's something I feel like we don't see in Lois a lot of times. Like, I feel like she's rarely wrong, you know, or she's rarely has, you know, she rarely gets it given to her, because she's always the one giving it. So it's that was an interesting moment, and I kind of liked it.
Yeah, it's still weird to me hearing the boys called General Lane Grandad. I'm not used to that yet, and I don't think I've ever encountered Grandad Lane in the comics yet. So yeah, that's still weird to me. But then we also have Lana and her family planning to leave Smallville, which sort of just goes to show how much that whole situation has affected her and her family, because obviously they were kind of, I guess, bullied in a way in the previous episodes, because they think, the people of Smallville think that they've had more involvement in the whole Morgan Edge scenario. I think I've brushed over quite a few plot points, but I've just gone for the ones that meant more to me. But I love how they use Centennial Park for the standoff. Very cool. I guess it was the obvious choice, but it's nice to see a bit of Superman lore in there, and it's kind of nice to see a bit of Metropolis, because we have spent a lot of time in Smallville. I don't think it's only the sort of the flashbacks where we have been to Metropolis and start, I think.
I do like how they're like the city or whatever location they're using for Metropolis. It feels very alive. It feels very different, and it feels very realistic. And it doesn't seem like it's just Vancouver, you know, which they use for every other city.
That can happen, can't it? After you've watched a lot of the CW shows, I know a lot of people that are watching us probably are, you know, they love their Arrow, they love their Flash, what have you. So yeah, that can happen. I've noticed that myself, and it's not like that one street in Smallville either. In the latter episodes of Smallville.
Yes. Oh my goodness.
You know that street.
Yes, I do. The street that makes no sense, where all the roads just go off around the sides, so you can't see where they're going. Oh, yeah, I know it's true.
Set designs, eh?
Yes.
But yeah, so then from there, sort of what happened to John Henry Irons' Earth is starting to play out, and instead of it being Superman, it's Tal-Rho and Leslie Law, and I think they take 4 of the Kryptonians with them who were undercover in Metropolis. And I don't know if they've been undercover for a while, or whether he's literally just eradicated them there and then.
I think they're new.
Okay. And then obviously you had Jordan and Jonathan watching from a party which they weren't supposed to go to, and it was quite painful to see them, because they were watching it, and then especially for, I think it was Jonathan that watched the video in John Henry's camper van, isn't it? So he's seen the footage where Jordan hasn't. So you could kind of see the moment where he clicked that this is playing out now. And then you sort of get Leslie Law sort of hovering towards Lois behind her.
Oh, but that was the best moment. One of the best moments in the entire show.
Yeah.
Where Steele just hammers her face. Just right. Like it's coming. I'm like, hit the face, hit the face, hit the face. And it did. I was like, yeah.
I have to say the visual effects have been superb in this series, or they've certainly been getting better with every episode for sure.
Yeah. There's not been any sort of lag. I thought after the first couple of episodes it might disintegrate in quality a bit, but yeah, definitely hasn't. But yeah, the fight sequences are great here, and especially when Superman and one of the Kryptonians fly through the building. That was really well.
They never seem to overdo it, do they? They always seem to, they use their effects sparingly, but they always put a lot of effort into them.
Yeah,
which I always find.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I really like how they're using John Henry's hammer. It feels like it's a very unique way to use it for him, because usually he's just got a sledgehammer, and here they're really using it like they did with Thor's hammer in the Infinity War, where he's throwing it at people and it's going around destroying everything. I think it's cool.
Yeah,
so obviously it looks like he's been training with it. He's becoming familiar with it. It's not just a prop.
Yeah,
something which I like as well. Yeah.
But it's obviously got some sort of technology in it for it to come back like that after he's thrown it at Leslie. And then I think there's a bit where his powers, or he's waiting for it to power up. I think it's for that moment, actually. And they're sort of, the AI lady, I'm not sure if she's got a name, but she's kind of telling him 15 minutes, 15 seconds.
Yeah.
Not minutes. I think Lois would have been gone if it was 15 minutes.
Yeah.
I will say though that the whole thing between Sarah and Jordan just makes me roll my eyes. Like they've got this little lovers thing now, which is I'm happy for him, but this whole thing where she's talking about moving and it sort of gets confirmed, and this whole mopey speech about long distance relationships. I'm like, you're teenagers.
Oh, but it's very true to life. That's very true to life. Like if you're a teenager in your relationship, everything is the end of the world because you've never experienced it before. So every bump in the road is like, oh, this is it. This is, and they just don't have any reference point. So I think it was very accurate.
Yeah, it was accurate, but I was like, oh. But yeah, like they're teenagers. They don't know half of it yet. So me and my partner, we did long distance for like 6 years. Like we lived 2 hours apart, and it's only since we got this house last January, we've actually lived together. And lived in the same city. So they need to get a grip.
This was targeted specifically for you.
Yeah, and also his dad is Superman. I'm sure he could give him a lift every now and then, and he'll be there in no time.
Well, and now he can fly.
There we go.
Like, I thought at one point he's like, oh, he's totally gonna reveal that he's a Kryptonian because he's a teenager and he's dumb, and he's like, I'll say anything to make this relationship happen, So I thought for sure he was gonna out himself.
Yeah. Speaking of relationships, so there's another one blooming between Jonathan and I can't for the life of me remember the girl's name.
I don't know either, but she's from Central City.
Yeah. So this seems to be brewing though, because I feel like is she going to be somebody important? Because there's obviously, we know that she's from Central City now. We know that she's moved from there. And I don't know, I feel like she's just hinting a little bit.
I'm curious because I haven't watched the very latest season of The Flash, so I'm curious to know if she's has appeared in there, because she makes a point of saying her dad's in jail, so which makes me think, well, we've mentioned Central City, we've mentioned your dad's in jail. He could be a supervillain that the Flash has put away,
That's true, but there's loads. It could be any. Yeah, there's a lot. I haven't watched the latest series of The Flash either, so I'm not too sure, but I just feel like she's hinting there's more than what she's letting off, or what the series is letting off at the minute. And then we get onto the scene where General Lane's car hits Tower Row, and that bit was amazing in terms of effects. Like the car flipped up. It was epic. So then Taro takes Jordan and puts his, I think it's his dad's, how would you describe it, like being or soul or something into him, his mind.
Consciousness.
That's it, his consciousness.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that kind of seemed a little bit obvious. Because
I was not expecting that.
No? Well,
No.
as soon as he stopped the car, I thought, that's when I was like, oh, he's going to take Jordan, because I thought ever since we've sort of seen him get these powers, and then Superman and him kind of had these little riffs.
Yeah.
Clark and him have had these little bit of riffs in terms of how he uses his powers. I thought there was going to be a face-off between them two at some point.
Well, I thought that, he was just after both the boys because they're both Superman's kids.
Yeah.
Either as leverage or to transmogrify them into Kryptonians. And so I thought, oh, this is how Jonathan's going to get powers. Yeah. And then maybe Jordan will die and it'll be just Jonathan. And I also thought this might have been another opportunity for Sarah to discover Jordan's powers, because when the car flips, he grabs her. I'm so like, okay, Jordan's safe, Sarah's safe, and Jonathan and Major Lane are dead. Like they don't have any protection. They're just rolling. Jordan's only saving the one girl. So I thought for sure that they'd come out without a scratch, and she'd be like, "How did that happen?"
Yeah, and I'm surprised with him being, like I say, a teenager and not sort of knowing all of his emotions and stuff. I'm surprised he didn't have a bit of a outbreak like he has done in the past. Like at the party, he did the heat vision by accident. Yeah. He's done a few things by accident, so I'm quite surprised he kept it together then.
Well, I thought Tal-Ro was dead, or Tal-Ro's dad was dead.
Yeah.
Because I thought they broke his crystal or whatever, so I wasn't expecting his consciousness to come back.
Yeah.
So, I don't
know. But yeah, I love the moment where Clark / Superman is trying to find him, and he's like hovering above the earth to try and hear him. I always love seeing those scenes where he's trying to listen into different parts of the world, whether it's in film, TV, or comics. I love seeing that, and the effects and the cinematography there was really nice. Like, it looked really good.
Where he's zooming through all the countries. And through all this, that was super cool. I like that a lot.
Yeah, I think he went through London. Did he at one point?
What did you say, Ashley?
I think that really took me back to Man of Steel.
Yeah,
I think this show really does take a lot of visual sort of iconography from all the different lore, like Superman hovering in space. Reminds me of Christopher Reeve. Reminds me of a lot of Brandon Routh's interpretation. He goes to space as well. I like that. It seems to take a real hat nod to everything, which I quite enjoy. But that definitely reminded me of Man of Steel, where he was going through all the different countries. I liked that.
Yeah. But then there was this whole thing where he kind of gave up looking for Jordan straight away, and he went to Lois and had a bit of a breakdown with her, which is understandable because it's their son and the stakes are high. But I don't know, I feel like Superman would still be notoriously looking and refusing to give up. He wouldn't give up that easily.
Well, he said he looked everywhere.
I mean, you look again, wouldn't you? It took him 5 seconds to look everywhere. You can do another 5 seconds.
Yeah.
I think that was pretty much everything that happened in that episode. So we'll jump on to the finale, which is episode 15. I didn't actually write the title of the episode down, so I don't know if anyone.
The Last Sons of Krypton.
Very nicely titled as well. Say again?
Very ominous, I thought.
Yeah. I when I saw the title, I actually thought Jonathan was going to get some sort of powers because it's Last Sons of Krypton. But then,
it made me think of the Eradicator, because when the Eradicator takes over Superman, he adopts the moniker of the Last Son of Krypton.
Yeah.
Lois straight away shows how badass she really is. So she doesn't care if Leslie is a Kryptonian. She gives her a piece of her mind trying to find her son, which I quite liked. But I thought originally that Leslie was turned Kryptonian by the Eradicator, or by the machine and stuff that they would do, the brainwashing that they were doing at the start of the series. But it's nice to know that she's actually a true Kryptonian, and she was there when Krypton was destroyed, as she explained to Lois.
I think that's inaccurate. I think that she was a human, and the soul, because they said the longer the soul is in the person, the original person is gone forever. And so I think this is a soul of an original Kryptonian
in a human body.
It has been permanently put into this human body. And so I do, yeah, she still did see Krypton, but I think her soul got put in the Eradicator or whatever.
Yeah.
This whole kind of lore where they're able to do this, is this like something that's like familiar with like Superman comics, or is this more?
Yeah, it's in a Rebirth, the first Superman arc of the Rebirth line. They did this with the Eradicator and revealed that he could hold the souls of Kryptonians.
That's right. Yeah, I remember that now. Yeah,
I haven't read those, so I didn't know that, but
they're good.
Yeah. So obviously we go back to Jordan being taken over, and he's sort of taking hits at his dad, which is mad to see. He's trying to fight his own dad, but that must be really hard for Superman, like to try and resist. He can't hurt him, can he? Because it's his son, and he's trying to resist and talk some sense into him, but it's just not working. And I love how Jonathan's actually been given a bit of responsibility here. He kind of shines a little bit in terms of what he tries to do. So he's in charge of protecting Lois and Jordan's body while Lois goes into the, I've written dream world, I'm not sure of the official term, and to try and bring Jordan's consciousness back to his body. So that's quite a big responsibility, because he's going up potentially against a bunch of Kryptonians, and all he's got is it a kryptonite gun or something like that?
It's a sonic gun or whatever that one of Superman's villains created.
Yeah. Oh yeah, from one of the previous episodes, I remember. And then Taro then has 6 Kryptonians now, and because he takes some members of the US Army from Smallville in a rather tense standoff. But if it's that easy for him to take, because he literally hovers there and then they just fly up, like there's no sort of warning, why does he not just take more?
He's got to that's why he went to that crystal cavern, because he's got to have the X kryptonite to do the transfer or whatever. So I guess he only had a limited amount, and then when he's about to do the big transfer, when he finds that big giant cave full of them, which was awesome, by the way.
Yeah, that looked
so good,
stunning. That was so, it looked, well, considering he was doing it for bad, it looked so pretty.
Yeah.
And then Superman has still come up with a plan to kidnap Jordan, and I'm just still not over seeing them two working together in live action. I didn't think it was gonna happen so soon, to be honest. And I really hope we get to see more of them and their relationship in the second series, because I really like seeing them working together. But this episode kind of shows that you don't have to have powers to be a hero, and that seemed like quite a common theme. So you've got Kyle saving the woman from a building that does explode. Their whole family sort of steps in to help, instead of moving cities like they first planned. They started helping Smallville and sort of get back to what it was. And then we've also got Jonathan, who's protecting both his mother and his brother from Kryptonians. So I quite like that.
I think that really ties into sort of like the Superman Red and Blue that we covered a couple of weeks back, where Superman, he sees the best in people and always believes that the good in you will always, rise to the, to come to the top and rise to the occasion. That's what I picked up from that, because I totally agree with you. It definitely seems to be a theme where you don't need to be powered up to be a hero, and that's like what Superman believes in most.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. And then we kind of we almost got to see Jonathan versus Jordan, which I really thought Jonathan was gonna just get angry and develop some sort of power at that point. I really thought that was gonna happen. But I think I'm just wishful thinking. I've thought that several times throughout the series, which well, it kind of keeps you on your toes, but it's annoying because I really want it to happen. But yeah, so Jordan kind of takes him by the throat, and yeah, Lois manages to find Jordan in this consciousness or the dream world or whatever you want to call it, and she gives quite an emotional speech to Jordan, and I really like the montage of his sort of best bits. I think that was a nice touch. She kind of seen him grow as a character and as a person, I guess, as a superhero from the start of the series.
Yep.
And yeah, so John Henry, when they're fighting, he's pretty much given everything that he's got, like quite literally, because every time he throws the hammer, his power is kind of like depleting, and he's warned of the power loss several times. And that really reminded me of Iron Man, where he, like, because is it Jarvis in the suit? It's not Jarvis, is it?
Yeah, originally it was.
Yeah, and where he's kind of telling them, oh, your power's at 10% or whatever. Yeah, but then they eventually save the day. Jordan's brought back, and Tal-Rho is no longer the Eradicator. But I feel like it was just kind of wrapped up very quickly, considering it was a finale. I think they could have probably left some snippet of Tal-Rho for the second series, because he could have made a return, but by the sounds of it, he's that villain's done. So I guess we're going to explore something different in the next series, which I'm excited to see. I like that Superman did a bit of a debrief with the Smallville Gazette afterwards. That was quite nice. That was quite good. I don't think we get to see that very often, but yeah, I quite like that. And it kind of pays homage to the fact that, well, it doesn't really, but Clark I think it's like there's an era of comics where he's a TV reporter rather than a reporter. So it kind of reminded me of that, which was quite nice. But then, yeah, the rest of Smallville was kind of recovering in terms of both the town and the friendships and relationships and stuff. And then you see the boys playing Injustice and fighting with Superman, even though it's their dad. I quite like that. It's nice to see a universe within a universe, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. And then you got sort of Lois and Chrissy, who are going into reporter partnership together. I wasn't really expecting that, and it seems like a final statement to the fact that they're going to stay in Smallville now.
Yes.
But I do hope in the second series we do get to see a bit more of Metropolis, because especially some of the characters like Jimmy Olsen and, even just references to Jimmy. And then also General Lane says he's stepping down to take care of his family, which I also wasn't expecting, because in the comics especially, we know he's very career orientated. Well, actually, he's dead in the comics, isn't he, at the moment? So yes. he died in
during event of Leviathan.
Yeah. But yeah, you kind of forget how hard it must be for John Henry, because he's obviously, every time he sees Lois, it's his wife, and he's seeing her with another man and another family. So the ending,
that was a great scene.
Yeah, the ending of this, where we see obviously Natasha. It is Natasha, isn't it?
Natalie in this.
Natalie.
Inexplicably, it's Natalie. Why? Like, why is it not Natasha?
Yeah.
Like, why have you changed it?
She's got cool hair, though. I do like her hair. She's got like bright red puffs. But yeah, so she obviously comes in at the end, because, well, we know that John Henry's been trying to find her for quite some time, and she ends up finding him, which is very nice. But that was just a reminder of, well, as soon as she comes out, she sees Lois and she calls her mom. So it'll be interesting to see.
There's a nice little
go on.
So there's a nice little homage to Steele's original suit with that casket or whatever she's in when it lands. It's got like the rivet points that looks like the original Steele.
Oh yeah.
And stuff. So it's a nice little homage to that.
Well, I just wonder how they're going to play it for the second series. Like, are they going to come together and be one big unconventional family? Because to her, that's her mom. To him, it's his wife. I think it's going to be hard to. They can't really stay there and let that go, because it's quite a big role. It's not like it's a cousin or something. Weird. I know. And then, Clark goes then back to the fortress, and that scene in terms of effects and cinematography was really nice too. But then they're burying these crystals, and I got really confused. I thought it was Kryptonite at first, but then is it Jor-El's crystal that they're burying?
Yes.
Which
I did not like this scene.
Yeah, I didn't really see why they did that.
Yeah, because he's already dead. Like, that wasn't your dad. That was a hologram computer database. And also, like, he's talking about my dad. No, he was my dad. You know, he wasn't just my father. No, he wasn't. Like, at no point in any comic book has Jor-El been your daddy. You know, like, he's not your daddy. Jor-El has never been Superman's daddy ever. You know, it's always Jonathan Kent. And so I just thought that was a weird send off for
burying your Atari.
What?
Burying your Atari.
yeah, after burying your Atari,
it didn't make sense for me. I don't see why they did that necessarily. And also, considering the importance of the crystals, they didn't bury them very deep. They literally just dug a little hole, put them in.
Well, I thought, like, and I'm thinking, like, oh man, a new fortress is going to grow, you know, under that tree, the tree fortress, which is something interesting because in the comic books, the Silver Age ones, Superboy has a hideout underneath the Kent farm. So,
maybe
they might do something like that.
Perhaps. I'm just trying to. That's all the notes I've put for that episode in particular. Considering it was a finale, it just kind of wrapped things up. Nothing major sort of happened other than Natalie at the end coming in. I've just written Natasha all the way through my notes, so I could kind of say that. Yeah, everyone knows what I mean. But yeah, I'm just glad that this is signed on for a second series already. It's been really good. I had my doubts at first when it was announced because it was like within the CW and stuff. But yeah, this creative team and the cast have proved me wrong, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Yep.
What villain would you like to see in the next series?
I'd love to see a proper Hank Henshaw, like where he's got like the half face and he's impersonating Superman. I think that would be cool.
Yeah.
Because they had Hank Henshaw on the Supergirl show, but it doesn't seem like him.
No.
You know, for me.
Yeah, definitely not. How about you, Ashley?
Do you know what? I think we've all three of us have got a really soft spot in our hearts for Krypton. And I just think they've done such a great job with their villains. So I wouldn't mind seeing a Lobo in this, especially now that Lobo's got a little dalliance going on with Superman in Last Ride and now with Superman and Lobo.
Yeah.
So, I'd like to see them maybe I don't know if they could ever make some type of amalgamation with Krypton, get some of those guys in because their costume department or their makeup department was on point. So maybe that, I don't know, like a Brainiac because he looks phenomenal.
Yeah.
Lobo looks phenomenal. I liked the idea of Adam Strange expanding the universe. Mongol would be cool.
I think that would be really hard to do in a TV show, though, Mongol.
Because if you think that Mongol and Hank Henshaw have got a particularly bloody history with each other and a certain city that they kind of eradicated off the face of the earth. So Mongol. For sure. Yeah, Mongol.
I think I'd like to see General Zod because there's already been a bit of mention of him. Well, very brief mention, and it seemed like a bit of a waste just to mention him and not do anything else with him.
Solid salmon.
Fingers crossed.
Forget what I said. I want John Cryer for the whole season.
Yes.
The whole season.
I'd be down with that. I like his Lex Luthor. He's great. Moving swiftly on to the comic books, we've got quite a few comics to go through. So first up, we'll do Justice League Last Ride issue 4. So this one's written by Chips. This is where I'm going to try and get all the names wrong. I like how Ash has got all the covers there. So this one's written by Chip Zdarsky with art by Miguel Mendonca and colors by Enrique Angiolini. So I thought both of the covers were great this week. The first one was by, have you got the covers there, Ashley?
I've only got issue 1. I've got issue 1.
So the first one's by the first cover. The first one's by Derek Robertson and Diego Rodriguez, and it's amazing. I love it. It's basically Superman and Green Lantern facing off against a bunch of aliens, I guess. And it just looks great. Full of action. And everywhere you look, there's more detail everywhere. Nothing's sort of spared. And then you've got I've got the comics here somewhere, but if you could see the state of this room, you'd see why I can't find them. But the variant covers by Thiago da Silva, and it's amazing. The detail, the realism, the colors, everything about it is just amazing. It's basically Martian Manhunter soaring through the galaxy, and it almost looks metallic, but it's not. Like, it's that kind of. It's just really good.
That reminded me, actually. The cover reminded me of. Do you remember when DC were doing the metallic covers?
Yeah.
A couple of years back. They were great. I really enjoyed those.
Yeah, they were good. That was for Action Comics, I think.
I think it was across the board, because I remember there was like a really cool Batman Beyond one. I think the covers, all the line at the time got these really cool.
Lenticular covers.
Yeah. Well, obviously only picked up the Superman ones, so that's why I only know the Action Comics. So I've just written a spoiler warning halfway down there. I don't know why, because we've obviously spoiled everything for you so far. So in this issue, we finally figure out what's caused this drift between the Justice League, well, particularly Batman and Superman. And I was right. So you have Martian Manhunter offering up his life to save the world, and Superman and Batman are pretty much shouting at each other to get him to do different things. So it's basically... it's basically Superman's inability to switch off, and that was kind of teased in one of the previous issues. I can't remember which one, where I think it's him and John Stewart are supposed to do something, and then Superman's listening into some spaceship crash, and he's trying to go help with them, and obviously he's not focusing on the task at hand. But I also didn't really guess that it would be Batman's ignorance as well, because it's kind of both of them, isn't it? So Batman's not listening to what Superman's asking him to do, but then you understand why he's not listening, because like they need to take action now. They can't wait for anything.
I felt Superman's clearly in the wrong here. Like for me. I mean, he's the one who is not showing forgiveness towards Batman for this perceived wrong, and then of course Batman's he's doing whatever he can. He had to save the world, and it was Jean Jones' own decision, and Superman just up and abandons Green Lantern and all his friends who are fighting Darkseid. He just leaves to save the guy on the other side of the galaxy who's willingly putting his life on the line. It just was like, wow, Superman, okay, you need to check yourself before you wreck yourself.
Yeah, that was a bit, especially when he like literally just left. That was a bit much, especially against someone like Darkseid. It's not like it's like a low-key villain. He's the big boy. So this story is kind of told in two parts, which I quite like. So half of the issue was the flashback, and then the other half was set in the present. But I like how it was set out, because sometimes with flashbacks, they can happen quite often. Sometimes you don't realize it's a flashback because there's so many, and it can be a bit disjointed. But I like that it's split into a clear two and clearly labeled past, present.
Yeah. Really well weighted, I thought the issue was.
Yeah. The second half was great too, and I thought it threw so many spanners in the works for everyone involved, basically. So first of all, you've got Lobo antagonizing Superman because he's clearly overheard what's happened in the past, and obviously Lobo knows how to get under Superman's skin in this case. So he basically explains the similarities in what they've done in terms of, well, obviously Lobo is a bounty hunter, so he sort of takes no prisoners, and Well, he does take prisoners, he cashes them in. But yeah, he uses the past events as an example, and you can see that really gets to Superman. And then as well as that, he goes on to explain that he wasn't actually the one who killed the new gods in the first place.
His employer.
Yeah, and we obviously don't know who that is yet. But first of all, why didn't he say that in the first place? Like, he's obviously going on trial for this.
I think it's I don't know. I was going to say like a bit of a bounty hunter's code, like what goes on in the boardroom stays in the boardroom. But I don't know if Lobo. I don't know. Does Lobo have morals and values?
Well, he says in this like he's not going to reveal his employer. So I think the only two things he cares about is his his business and his space dolphins.
A reputation. He doesn't want to go. You don't want to get word out that he's like loose-lipped or whatever.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
He definitely came across more cerebral, I think, in this issue. Like using just the right kind of words towards Superman. Really, really getting under that skin. So I really like this interpretation of Lobo, not just a merciless kind of biker bounty hunter, but more cerebral. This guy has got a brain, however many times it's had to regenerate.
That's probably why he's so witty.
Exactly, but I thought this was a great issue, and obviously Chip is paying attention to what's happening in the comics now. You've got some Mongol action going on in here, and right at the end, we've done the spoiler warning, right?
Yeah, we did that. Well, at the start.
Awesome looking amalgamation between Cyborg Superman and Brainiac, and it is. I want this action figure right now. Because it looks great.
Actually, there's an amalgamation with Brainiac.
He's got green skin, hasn't he?
Yeah.
He's got the little, I don't know what you officially call them, but the lights.
Yeah.
Baubles.
The baubles. But going back to Lobo, you just jumped right to the end of the issue there, Ashley. But if Lobo didn't do it, well, who do you think his employer is going to be? Because obviously, is Lobo scared of his employer and the fact that he doesn't want to tell them, or is it just like you say the bounty hunter's code?
Well, I thought his employer is this Hank Henshaw. That's what I thought.
Then it could also be the United Nations, because they've said that they've hired him. Well, it's kind of came out that they hired him for several jobs, and. Well,
you mean the United Planets?
That's it. So United, you know what I mean. United Planets, yeah. So there wasn't very much of them in this issue, so maybe that was a little inkling, I thought.
Yeah, definitely could be. It's something that it sounds like something they would do. All this kind of talk about, sometimes you have to get your hands a bit dirty to preserve what you've got and things like that. Definitely sounds like, because obviously the United Planets is a mixture of many, many different species, and getting that many people on board, all singing to the same hymn sheet. I don't know. I don't quite buy into that. So this would be a really good example of the difficulties that will occur when trying to get something like this going.
Yeah.
In terms of so many people and so many species all aligned.
Yeah. I guess we'll find out. There's not that many issues left, I don't think. Is it 7 issues for this one?
I think you said 7 issues. Can we also just point out Wonder Woman still sporting her golden armor from Wonder Woman 84? She looks great in it. And the inclusion of Nubia as well, who's popping up a lot recently.
Yeah. So basically, Superman and the Flash are together when Lobo's sort of antagonizing them, and it's there that they realize that this whole mission is pretty much a trap. And then we get the 2 very unexpected Superman villains appear, which Ash is obviously spoiled. But we've got Mongol again, who's appearing a lot in the comics at the minute, and then Cyborg Superman, which I've written looks like he's some sort of Brainiac thing going on because he's green and then he's got the pink lighting on his suit as well.
Yeah. Can I just say as well, I love the idea of Darkseid being the villain, because Apocalypse versus Earth feels very much like that is the big bad, that is always going to be the end threat. I love seeing characters in this like Calabac. I love all the parademons on the cover, I love Darkseid. His new 52 design by Gary Frank, I think, features in this. So I love that. I love, Darkseid is the end game for me. He is the final boss, I think, for the DC universe. And that's one thing I think the New 52 done really well was, positioning him in that as such. Because Marvel have always had this sort of identity where, Thanos is like their end boss or their big bad. So this, for me, I really like Darkseid being the baddie. I've always enjoyed, Apocalypse versus Earth. So
yeah, but then like in this one, Darkseid is obviously the big bad, but then you've also got all these other villains being thrown in as well, like Mongol and Cyborg Superman.
Well, they're like vultures picking at the bones.
Yeah.
Darkseid is the villain in the past, so he's not the villain in the present that we know of.
Yeah. Oh no, he's not the employer, that's for sure.
Well, you never know.
I think the employer is New 52 Lobo.
You wish, man.
I love that guy.
Wouldn't that be awesome?
You just love the New 52. I think every episode we've done, you've mentioned the New 52. I need to read it. I haven't read it yet.
It was a pivotal period of time, and I'm going to try and now mention New 52 Lobo in every episode in a constructive way. I'm not just going to randomly shout his name out.
Yeah, I'm going to hold you to that. We'll see. Yeah, I really like this issue. I think it was my favorite so far, but it's mostly because we kind of finally find out what's going on. The artwork was great as well, but I'm just looking forward to seeing what's coming next, because we've got these two huge Superman villains and all these mysteries going on, and we don't have that many issues left to solve it. So I think they're going to be pretty action packed.
Yeah.
Before we move on to the next issue, I want to give a quick update on the Suicide Squad book.
Go for it.
Which has featured Superboy. And so a couple episodes ago, I gave a recap of this, but so we're on issue 6 now. And Superboy has woken up. He's back in his t-shirt costume, which I'm not a fan of. And he's working for Amanda Waller in the Suicide Squad. He's got the thing in his neck, and his memories have been tampered with. So in issues 5 and 6, the Suicide Squad are deployed to Earth 3 to kidnap I think Black Siren, so that she can be on the Suicide Squad. So it's interesting that Amanda Waller is recruiting through the multiverse. Anyway, what happens is they get to the end of this, they get back to the regular Earth, and then they look, as Superboy is there, and he looks up, and who is floating in front of him? Real Superboy. And it's the Superboy that we've left off with from Young Justice in his classic costume that they just reestablished. And apparently this new Superboy that we've been reading in the Suicide Squad could be a clone of a clone. He could be the clone. Yeah.
That's
so,
right.
Oh, wow.
As soon as I was reading that in bed at night with my headlamp, my wife's asleep next to me. My wife's asleep next to me, and I turn the page and see, Superboy from Young Justice. I'm like, yeah! Like, I just out loud.
Did you wake up?
So... No, I don't think so. So I'm super excited to read the next issue. I want to find out what's happening here. I'm so glad to find out that apparently they did not throw out all that hard-fought continuity that Brian Bendis has been working on for so long. And it was a great surprise for me. So I'm gonna be keep my eyes on this, and I think it's gonna be pretty Superboy centric. So we might have to just keep tabs on it.
Is this the first time that Amanda Waller has recruited a Kryptonian for the squad? I think that's quite interesting.
No, she kidnapped General Zod from the Phantom Zone in the Rebirth era. So, and that ended poorly for everyone involved.
I remember that.
Yes.
I didn't realize she went and, well, you kind of saying kidnapped. She kind of went and took them.
Mm-hmm.
I thought they they were in prison, so they were given this ultimatum.
Most of them are, but she's trying to up her game. And so
anything goes.
Yeah. You should absolutely check out the ones where she kidnaps Zod, and because it just is a poor decision.
Yeah, it sounds like a terrible decision. I didn't realize that Suicide Squad was. I knew that Connor Kent was in it, but yeah, it sounds really good. I did actually read issue 1.
A film out, right?
Yeah, I haven't seen it yet though, so no spoilers. No spoilers on that, please. Even the postman, like, he keeps, every time he brings the post, he's like, "Have you seen it yet? Have you seen it yet?" And I was like, "No, not yet." So yeah, I'll have to read that. I've read issue 1 when it first came out, and I don't know why, but I just didn't keep up with it. But I did really enjoy issue 1. But I'm pretty sure it's changed writers and everything now, hasn't it? Because it was Tom Taylor when I first read it.
I don't know.
Oh, okay. Well, we're still fine.
Anything with Superboy in it, I just read it because he's one of my favorite characters. So.
We'll move on to Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow issue 3 then. So this one's written by Tom King with art by Bilquis Evely and colors by Mateus Lopez. This is another issue with 2 great covers. The first one is by the interior artist that we just mentioned, and it's just, I think it's gorgeous. Even though it doesn't actually sparkle, it looks like it does. But I think that's because the way she's drawn these little, I guess they're like stars or something within it, which is really nice. And yeah, it's quite funny to see Supergirl literally dragging Ruthie along for the ride with her. The variant cover, which is my favorite, is by David Mack, who I love. I love his work anyway. It's all sort of watercolor and it's all really pretty, and it's just different because, like, from comic art normally it's very bold lines and striking colors, but this is like really subtle, which I quite like. But it's Supergirl dazing into space, looking very confident, and yeah, I just love it. It's my favorite cover of the 2. So if you haven't seen that one, go and check it out. I have it here somewhere, but again, I could not tell you where it is. Yeah, I really like this issue. Yeah, it's a little wordy, and it probably could have been adapted. But this whole storyline, I think, could have been like adapted into a novel. It's that's the kind of detail that Tom King's gone into on this, and even with the amount of words that are involved in the narration and stuff. But it does add a lot of detail which we wouldn't really get, and it just adds to the story. It's not just for nothing, I think.
It's definitely world building, that's for sure. I mean, every kind of environment. I think the whole idea is it's going to be every single issue. We're in a new kind of environment for Kara and sort of Ruthie to navigate through. And yeah, he world builds. There's no doubt about it. Every single place we've been to so far, whether it's been on Ruthie's home planet, it's been on a space station or spaceport. This planet, which is very much modelled after sort of a sleepy American kind of hamlet or town. You can feel it. You can feel what this habitat is made of, what the people are made of, how they behave, from the architecture to the attire that they wear. It's all such dense world building. So I do appreciate that. That's for sure.
Mm. But then is most of that down to the artists in terms of like the way it looks, and it looks like it's
it's definitely. I mean, this is definitely a dream team for me. I mean, Tom King and the artist and everyone else involved, they are really working in sync and singing from the same hymn sheet, so to speak. This issue reminded me of the Wicker Man.
I don't think I've seen that.
In terms of an outsider coming in and everyone is in it. Is it involved in the joke except for you? Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's very much like it's taking a stab at 1950s America for sure, because in all of the media from that time, you have it's a picture perfect American society, but it's only with white people, and they never show what's going on with any of the other minorities or ethnicities.
Yeah,
and
because you got the purple and the blue, isn't it?
Yeah. It's only a perfect society for the white people. And so thankfully in 1950s America, it didn't go as far as genocide like it does here in this, and things have obviously gotten a lot better than pre-1960s, but yeah, it's a powerful message here in this book.
Yeah.
And I really liked it.
Yeah, I did too. We should probably explain kind of what happened, because we're just going into this is detail, and then people might not have. Well, I don't know. This might encourage people to read it, or you might read it and not know which bit we're talking about. But yeah, so Supergirl and Ruthie go to this. Well, they're kind of like checking into this hotel in the city, well, or a town. I'm not too sure. And everyone's sort of beating around the bush every time Supergirl asks like a simple question, and then they switch from being this really nice customer service voice to being like flat out angry and just rude. And then Supergirl later finds out that there's actually an attack on her and Ruthie, and they try and kill them, because I think they're getting a little bit too close to
asking a few too many questions.
Yeah, she's asking too many questions, and then she basically she goes searching for the answers and finds thousands of bodies sort of buried there, because there's all this mention between the purple and the blues, and there's which are the two different, I'm guessing they're two different alien races, or two different sides.
I think it's all to do with caste, because the purples, I think, are the rich folk, they're the affluent, they're the ones that have sort of built the town, and then you've got the purples the blues, sorry, that are, deemed more like a lesser kind of society, less money. It's very much like the powerful versus poverty stricken. Yeah. And they're obviously still looking for, is it Krem?
Yes.
Krem.
Yeah. And these ravagers, these pirates who literally are all about death and destruction, they team up with him. They like the cut of his jib. They take one look at him and like, yeah, you can join our party. And I think that kind of shone a light more on him, because Krem up until this point has just been kind of like a name, a very violent act on Ruthie's lips, and we've not really got to see much of him or his notorious kind of nature. And the fact that these reavers, or these kinds of these pirates that just all they're about is death and more death, have taken a shine to him, really kind of shines a light on what type of individual this is, and whether he does get it in the neck at the end of this story or not. He probably deserves it.
Yeah, that's for sure.
He definitely wants to build him up a lot more.
Yeah. I love this take on Supergirl. Like I've said before, I haven't read that many Supergirl comics. I've read comics where they're in, but I don't really know her too well. But she's very quirky, she's badass, and she's very ballsy in this. And I just really like that. And I hope that, I don't know, she hasn't really got, other than this, there isn't a Supergirl title, is there?
No.
So I hope this stems like a solo Supergirl, like a continuing one, because this one's just a mini series. So I hope that it's going to be this kind of Supergirl. Well, I hope there is one to begin with, because nothing's been announced yet.
Well, I mean, to me, this is Black Label Supergirl.
Yeah.
This is the Black Label Supergirl for me. I think that only this Supergirl could deal with this kind of story that she's dealing with. I mean, the pure horror in this issue, like when she digs up a mass grave. I don't think any other Supergirl could deal with that, other than this Supergirl that Tom King has kind of cultivated personally. Because this to me should have been a Black Label book, but this is definitely Black Label Supergirl for me.
I'm very glad that it's seems to be in continuity. The Supergirl is appearing in action, is wearing the same costume, and like for me, Bilquis is just killing it. Like this is the most gorgeous book I've read in a long time, and this issue is just a standout, especially her splash page in the middle where she's flying with Ruthie on her back. Just gorgeous, man. And all the night skies that she's painting, all the colors and the crazy galactic stuff, and then having this alien world be basically has the exact same architecture and whatnot of 1950s America, with just maybe a little alien twist on it. I love it. I thought it's so cool. It's so good looking.
Yeah.
And it's fun to go to like an alien planet where it's so similar, because it's just a fun little tweak, like going to a hotel on an alien planet. That's a fun idea. You know, it's fun to explore these establishments that we have on Earth, but in a new setting.
Yeah, and everything feels so lived in as well. You know, everything, it's like Star Wars, you know, everything feels like it's got generation upon generation of history behind it. You know, the car is walking through the same door 500 million people have probably walked through. The same bell attached to the door rings at the same time. You know, I love it. Yeah, the artwork is superb.
Yeah. I really like the moments where she kind of gave the rude townsfolk a bit of what they deserved, because obviously they started off really nice, and then then they flipped because she was asking too many questions. But my personal favorite was her knocking down the Tower of Cards. Like that is the level of pettiness I aspire to. That made me laugh. That was funny. But yeah, it was very well done in terms of how they started off nice and fake, and then just switched. I think that was very well done. It wasn't gradual, it was literally a switch, and you could see that even in their faces and in the artwork as well.
Well, I think after thinking about it further, I also think that this is an issue, at least for some of the townsfolk, it's an issue of like pain and guilt, because obviously not all of them were involved in the decision-making process to, you know, let these pirates do what they did. And they're, you know, they've got guilt over their evil deed that they've done. They've got survivor's guilt because it could have happened to them if not for this other thing. And so she's pushing the button, and then like this normally nice hotel lady's just snapping, you know, she's like, stop asking questions, do what you need to do and get out, you know, like, so I thought there's some deep emotion and some nuance.
It should be worth saying, because I think we may have missed it out. So basically these pirates have gone to the planet, and they normally just, their ethos is, we're going to ravage you, or maybe we can work around it. What can you give us?
Yeah.
And obviously the purples have gone, well, take the blues, you know, have your way with them, leave us alone, take them. So the purples have definitely, they pointed the finger at the blues and, you know, kind of sacrificed them. So
well, it was Krem's idea.
Yeah,
it was his idea that he pitched to the people. So it's like, this guy's evil.
Yeah,
definitely. Yeah, I like the moment where we've kind of touched on it already, where Supergirl takes Ruthie on a flight, and I like the attention of care when she's getting her on board. Like she's holding her hands. Like this, even though I said this Supergirl's kind of like ballsy and badass, she obviously has got a nice maternal side, I guess. And I like the bit where she says, "These hands can make diamonds from coal. I'm not letting you go," kind of thing. That was quite nice.
Lovely.
That was
nice.
It's
the thing, isn't it, Wes? You know, Supergirl or Superman or Superboy, you know, take a passenger. You go too fast, you're breaking someone's neck. So it's good they've actually discussed sort of like, you know, how to hold someone when they're in flight, because it's just something that we see so often. They pick them up and they go.
Yeah. Also, I want to know what like hair products they use, because if I went flying through the sky, you want to see my hair afterwards. Like it's going to be all over the shop. So how does Superman keep his hair so intact?
I like when they tried to explain that in the 80s and 90s, where he's got like a bioelectric aura that he can extend, you know, to people he's holding. Because it makes sense, because if he's flying Lois to Japan for dinner, she's gonna burst into flames and die at the speeds he's or suffocate, you know. So there's got to be some explanation for how he's doing it.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. But my favorite moment in terms of the artwork was the bit where they're getting shot at and Supergirl literally flicks the bullet from her eye. That was good, and it really reminded me of Superman Returns when he's got the revolver gun and it just crashes on his eye, crushes on his eye even. Yeah, I'm really enjoying this series. It's really different. Like it seems more like a fantasy story than a superhero story, which I quite like, and I'm hoping this is kind of what the Tom Taylor title is going to be a little bit like in terms of the fantasy side. But yeah, I'm excited to see what happens. On to Superman Red and Blue issue 6. So first up, the covers. The first cover by Doc Shaner is my favorite. It's amazing, and I've spent far too long looking at it, trying to figure out who all the characters are, and like every time you look at it, you see someone different. My personal favorite bit is the fact that Supergirl is carrying Jimmy Olsen like by the scruff of his neck, which makes me laugh. But yeah, it's just so well done. I've seen a few people criticize the arm positioning where I think he's got one hand out to the person and then one arm up. So people have been moaning about the positioning of that. But yeah, I like how it's basically Superman almost inviting you to go with him. And I'd be up there straight away. The second cover is by Gabriel Dell'Otto, who I'm a big fan of his work anyway, so I knew it was going to be a good piece, but I'm getting serious Christopher Reeve vibes from this, especially, well, I can't speak, specifically the costume, and also the face. It's uncanny. It's got to be based on him. The third cover is by Kevin Eastman, and it's got some good and bad points for me. It's my least favorite of the three, I will say. Firstly, I love the background. I like what he's done with the sun shining over Metropolis and like the detail on all the little buildings. It's like a sketchy art style. I quite like that. But then we get to Superman, and yeah, he's drawn very well, and the detail on the suit is great. But why is he upside down?
Kevin Eastman, I have to say, is one of my heroes.
Yeah.
He's a creator of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles alongside Peter Laird, and seeing him working on other characters other than the TMNT brings nothing but joy to me. He done a great Conan cover a few months back for Marvel, and it was through your post on Twitter that I saw his cover for Superman, and I was overjoyed. I love Kevin Eastman, and yeah, he is great at doing really gritty, sort of street level artwork.
Yeah.
So yeah, I do get what you mean with Superman and like the positioning, but
it would be really it would be a great cover if you just turned him around.
Yeah.
it just make more sense. It just seems like really weirdly positioned. But anyway. So the first story is titled Hissy Fit and is written and illustrated by Sophie Campbell. This one's really unique. Well, Evan, do you want to go into a bit of detail on this one because you did the review for this?
Yeah. So I really like this one. This one is there's almost no filler color, all just line work, and it takes place in Fortress of Solitude, which is great because it's all white because it's in the Arctic, and it's a really unique premise also because it's Superman and Supergirl, and they're having moving day where apparently they are moving the fortress from the North Pole to the South Pole for some reason. And so, how are they doing this? With cardboard boxes, just like the rest of us, and packing tape. And my favorite part in this whole thing is where they put the bottled city of Candor in a cardboard box labeled Candor, and in a cardboard box. Oh, I just thought that was so funny.
Yeah.
And there's lots of little like nice Easter eggs in the background of all their stuff, like Supergirl's carrying the giant key to the fortress, and Supergirl is rocking a new costume that I don't think I've ever seen her in before in this. I really like it. She's got a ponytail and she's got shorts and kind of like a shorter sleeve, but I really like the ponytail. I think that's a cool look for her.
Yeah.
Superman's got the pet crates for all his intergalactic zoo that he's transporting. Yep. And so the final pet to go, though, is Streaky. And Supergirl knows when she picks Streaky up that they're going to have to put him in the crate, and she knows it's not going to be good. And it's not, because Streaky freaks out, starts lasering everything, and runs away and rips a cargo tanker in half in a hissy fit, and Superman and Supergirl have to heat vision it back together, and finally at the end Streaky comes slinking home to the new fortress, and all is forgiven, and they pet him. And this I love everything about this comic, but this drives me crazy. I'm not a pet person, I'm not a cat person, and so in my review I said if Superman had super pets, the world would never let him keep them, ever, because this thing just destroyed a tanker. It ripped a ship in half. Certainly someone died. The shipping company is gonna have to pay for this stuff because a spot weld by Superman and Supergirl are not gonna pass safety inspections, and so it's just like this.
I love like you literally think of how it would happen in the real world, not just because it looks good and then it's a good idea, but you've gone into the safety inspection bit. I love that.
Well, and it's like it's me because like I said, I'm not a pet person, and so like pets bug me sometimes, and they like you're coming into the house and you're not going to pretend that your dog doesn't wipe after he does his business and he's going to sit on the couch next to you. It's like no one thinks about that. I think about it, and so
well, I didn't think about it until you just that's it. I didn't think about it until you just said it.
So I'm hyper analytical of this stuff, and especially if the pets have superpowers. If one pet without superpowers can kind of mess up your house, what can a super pet do to the world?
That's true.
And so,
that's what they've shown in this, isn't it?
I'm kind of unfairly biased against the super pets, and I know some of our listeners are like, "Oh, how dare you, sir?"
Me included.
But, sorry, Tasmin.
No, I am a pet person, but I hate cats. So I'm kind of with you on this one, Evan, because cats are they just flip, and I just don't like them. But yeah, this kind of, like you said, it goes to show why super pets aren't a good idea, but I still love them. No matter what they do.
But everything else about the comic is wonderful. The art, the little Easter eggs, everything.
Yeah, I love this. I know, I'm just saying, I loved this story so much. I am a huge fan of Sophie Campbell. She is the current artist on Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles at the moment. I would have her drawing every single issue of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles forever. I love this artist so much, and I was so overjoyed to see her on this book. Evan, you touched upon Supergirl's look, costume. Sophie Campbell is so good at designing quirky outfits, changing up sort of quintessential attire and really putting her own spin on it. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles at the moment is full of characters from punk rock, pigs, and sort of like, the fifth turtle at the moment, she's in a band and she's got ripped clothes, she's got a band t-shirt on, ripped jeans. She's amazing at doing attire and costumes. So I loved this issue. I love this story so much.
Yeah, it was good. Evan, I'm going to let you carry on, and I'll just take over on the last one, if that's okay.
All right, sounds good. So yes, the next one is called The Scoop, and it is a continuation of the Fleischer Superman serial verse, which is so cool. That's some of my favorite Superman media ever. And here in these pages, we get inside Fleischer Superman's head. He's giving us some commentary. We find out that he's a little upset, a little miffed that his stories that he's writing for the Daily Planet are getting pushed back to the back pages, while Superman's exploits by Lois Lane are on the front page. Yep. He's the one diving into the background of how these villains got what they got, what their motivations are. And that's really cool for us who are longtime fans of the Fleischer Studios, because there is no explanation for these guys. They had 11, or not even 11. They had like 5 minutes to tell their story in the movie theater, and they're just like handpicking these villains. And so we get some backstory behind some of the villains, including, and I've got my list here, the episodes The Bulleteer, $1 Billion Limited, Terror on the Midway, Mechanical Monsters, which is my favorite episode, and Superman, the very first one, or as it is also called, The Mad Scientist. And we get just a little bit of insight into how these villains did what they did and how they got, the technology or whatever. And it's really cool. It's just a really cool little universe expanding story. And then at the end, Superman realizes, I have one story that Lois can never write because she doesn't know it, and it's my story of coming to Earth. And we get the it's like kind of implied that eventually Fleischer Superman plans to out himself and to reveal to the world who he is and share this story. So I think that's very interesting. Yeah, I think that's the end. The art is great.
Yeah.
It doesn't look quite, no, it really doesn't look like the Fleischer art style, but it captures the characters.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I like this one. I admittedly haven't seen the Fleischer Superman cartoons. I've seen bits and snippets, but nowhere near enough to sort of know that this goes into the backstory. So that's why I wanted you to take the lead on this one, because you obviously have more more knowledge of it than me. But yeah, I enjoyed it, and I will eventually get around to watching the Fleischer Superman cartoons. I think I've got some of them recorded on my Skybox actually, ready and waiting. But yeah, it kind of shows the how and why it came to be in terms of the villains, which I like I like seeing it from the other side. So yeah, that was interesting.
For anybody who does want to watch them, please know that they are all in the public domain and you can watch them for free. Do not pay money, because people should not be charging for them because they are free to the world to see. So you can watch them on YouTube if you would like.
Well, there we go. All the ones that I haven't got on Sky, I will watch on YouTube. Yeah, on to the third one.
Yes, this is called The Special, and it's by Tom King, and it's my favorite story in this book. It is fit. Tom King is killing it. Like I've said multiple times, I've not been a fan of a lot of his stuff, but like all his recent Superman stuff and the Supergirl stuff, I'm loving it, man. And this is fantastic. It's telling the life story of Superman through the eyes of a waitress named Annie in Smallville, who has seen Clark Kent grow up from a baby to now he's a father. And so really, it's really interesting. He goes into this diner at different pivotal points in his life. And this waitress is overhearing conversations that he's having. And it's a really cool like overview. And it's really neat because every panel, except for the panels where we're seeing Superman's life outside the diner, is in black and white. So the only panels that are colored are when Superman is outside this diner, which comes into the story at the very end, where Annie is talking about how I feel like my life, I've just been stuck in this diner. I've just been living in black and white, and my life hasn't been anything special. And it's really neat because Superman's life, of course, is extraordinary, and we see his world in color. But then Superman comes to her at the end and gives her some encouragement, and all of a sudden, at that moment where Superman grabs her hand and encourages her, her world goes into color for a moment. And it's just a really neat, sweet moment.
Beautiful.
And it's a beautiful little story.
Yeah.
And I love the also the insights we get into Superman's life. Like we see him breaking up with Lana Lang when he has to leave Smallville. And that's a heart-wrenching moment. There's an amazing moment with Jonathan Kent again, or Pa Kent. And just any time you have Pa Kent, it's the best. And they're just going into what makes the character great here again, like they did in the last issue. There's some great art where Superman and Lois are kissing in front of the Daily Planet. Yes. Oh, such a good panel.
That's my favorite. That's my favorite part.
You can see there's the silhouettes of them kissing through Superman's cape. So good.
Yeah.
And I love how nervous Lois is to meet Ma and Pa Kent, and she's trying to convince Superman that she's not nervous, but she's totally nervous.
Yeah. She's definitely nervous. Yeah, I like this one too. I think, like you said, it's my favorite as well. It's really sweet, and I like how it's about a character that we don't even know. Like we've never met Annie before, or not that I know of, in comics, TV, film, whatever. And it's like this short story, which is probably like 5 or 6 pages long, makes you really care about her, and you kind of get to know the person she is just from that, which is very well done, like you said, by Tom King.
This is the artwork by Paolo Rivera, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a huge Daredevil fan, as you guys know, and just seeing this guy on this book again, the artist picks on this book, this issue has been superb.
Mm-hmm.
Did he do the Daredevil run in San Francisco?
No, that was Chris Samney. He done the beginning of the run with Mark Waid right at the start.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I love his art as well. Yeah, it's great stuff. I'm making a list of things that I would ever want to put in a comic if I get to write for Superman eventually, and I'm gonna put this character.
Yeah.
That if I ever get a chance.
Yeah, you probably have to get
Gus Gordon
permission from Tom King. He might sue you.
Yeah. He's doing double duty at the moment, of course, with Supergirl and Superman.
Yeah. All right, and then we're moving on to the next story, which is called Clark's Field. And my goodness, this is probably the most gorgeous story that has been illustrated in this series.
Yeah.
Looking at it right now, I don't think I've seen another tale from this series like this.
No.
Yeah. I mean, it's none of it's red and blue. It's all hot pink and turquoise, which is technically in the spectrum of red and blue. Yeah. But the whole thing just looks like a holographic trading card, or like, a foil trading card. It's amazing shading. It just looks metallic and really cool. And it's very detailed and well done. And it's a great little story here of, we see pivotal moments in Clark's life, including homage to Superman, the animated series, in the origin of Livewire, which is very cool. Mm-hmm. And we also get to see a great moment where, for all of Superman's mighty strength, it's not going to do a thing to save a person's life. And he has to rein his strength as far back as he can to provide CPR to this man to save his life. And it's just a wonderful, wonderful moment that they need to put in a stinking Superman movie, because everybody's like, oh, he's so overpowered, nothing's a problem for him. Well, read this comic book, guys. He has to save this man, and there's nothing his superpowers can do to rescue this man. And it's an amazing moment, and I loved it so much.
Yeah, I like that moment as well. And the artwork, which is by Steve Pugh, is just, it's gorgeous. Like I said, it's never, none of the artists, well, not to discredit them because their art's been amazing as well, but there's been nothing like this in this series, and I don't think I've ever seen anything like this even in any other comic that I've read, to be honest.
No,
I've seen
Evan nailed it with the whole holographic card analogy. This has definitely been a book series for the artist, the lover of artists. I can't wait to pick this thing up in hardback. For sure.
Yeah.
It's a shame it's only 6 issues. This would have been great as a 12 issue.
Yeah, you know what? When I got to the end, I was like, because usually it gives you the list of the next team that have stories and artwork in the book, and it didn't have it. And then I was like, oh, it's the last one, which I'm sad, because it's been amazing. All these different teams working on all these different stories. We just get to see so many different takes of the same character, which it's been really good. Anything else to say on that story?
That's it for me.
Just again, the artwork.
Yeah, the artwork's amazing. And the 5th and final story is titled Ally, and it's written by Rex Ogle with art by Mike Norton. So this one, this was my joint favourite story from the issue, I have to say. So we meet this young boy who's clearly got something going on, which we don't know at the time. And he keeps comparing himself and his ways to Superman, asking, what would Superman do? Which a lot of us Superman fans ask ourselves. And it isn't until Superman appears on TV at a press conference to reveal his truth, which is obviously a secret identity, that we get a glimpse as to what's going on. So the boy decides to do the same thing, clearly influenced by Superman, and he decides to come out as gay to his family, which I'm assuming he hasn't done that to anyone, and that's the first sort of telling of his own truth. But I really like this story. I too am an ally for that community, but it just goes to show that Superman is for everyone. It's not just because it shows that Superman can inspire people in a number of different situations, like not just to sort of do good and do good tasks like helping old people cross the road and things like that. It's like to be truthful to yourself as well. So I really like that. The artwork was nice too, and I like how the red was literally only used when Superman was around, and then when the main character, which I don't think we get to know his name in the story, but there's literally no color used and he's just black and white, but it just really draws your attention to where it needs to be, because the rest of the background is, I think, it's blue, and he's just white. But I will say that it does break the rules towards the end, because they've obviously got the flag on the chest. I see why they've done it, but yeah, it does break the rules quite a lot in terms of the red and blue, but I understand why they've done it. But yeah, I really like that story, and it was just a nice little one to sort of end the series, I guess.
I liked it as well. Kind of the artwork was very much like a scrapbook, I felt, at the beginning. With just like the thick kind of the line work and everything, and the way that the character was kind of segregated from the rest of the artwork, which is probably his mindset, how he was at the time. I just like the fact that in any kind of fandom, be it if you're a football fan, you're a comic book fan, you look towards these people. Whether you follow them on Twitter or Instagram or something, you're looking for the way they conduct themselves. You're looking for a role model or a hero or someone to look up to. And I think this is just a perfect example of what superheroes or what the comic book kind of genre can do for people. Like we look up to Superman. I'd like to think that we uphold his ideals and beliefs and the way he conducts himself, and this is just a great example of it, and a beautiful message at the end.
Yeah, definitely. And then last but certainly not least of the comics list, the long comics list we've had this week, Superman and the Authority issue 2, which is by Grant Morrison with art by Mikhail Yanin and colours by Jordi Belair. Straight in on this one, I really like this version of Manchester Black. I know we talked about it before, where normally he seems like a bit of a piss take on British people. And sometimes same goes for Constantine as well. Like I confuse the two quite a lot because they're very similar in terms of the way they talk and act. But this one had me in stitches straight from the start. Like he's talking to the Kryptonian machines, saying that they haven't got the nuts to kill him, which just made me laugh. It's so uncalled for, because they're obviously not saying anything to him, and he's just sort of going off at them, which made me laugh. And then, I don't know if it means anything, but I noticed that the location title here, right? It says Fort Superman rather than the Fortress of Solitude. I don't know if that means anything. Is it a different location? Is it the fortress?
I assume so. Obviously, you've touched upon that it's a different Superman. As a team, the three of us were a bit conflicted on if it's like an Elseworld kind of Superman, Kingdom Come Superman, a continuity kind of Superman. But this is definitely a different Superman, and I definitely think it's set in a different location from the fortress. I love the way he was pressing the weight, by the way.
Yes.
That enormous tower of like weight. So they're obviously really trying to rail home that he is depleted some way, or he's been going for like an awful long time. But then, having said that, the characters around him, like spoiler Natasha, that's in it, is still young. So I'm not too sure.
But this is definitely in continuity. That I've written a note about it as to why I think it is. We'll talk about it when we get to that bit. But yeah, I really like the workout montage that they did, because you've got that big chest press thing that he's doing, and then you've got the super speed sort of hamster wheel where he's like running through as well. Yeah, it's very inventive, because obviously he's Mikhail Yanin's kind of exaggerated these basic exercises to be suitable for Superman, which was quite good. And yeah, the artist is definitely sort of playing into the whole thing that's on social media, and it's even referenced in this issue with like Superman being like the best looking Superman that we've had in comics and stuff like that. And so you've got him sort of topless with the hairy chest, and he's like dabbing the sweat off himself, like being it's like, I don't know, it's just like a pin-up, isn't it?
Yeah. This was definitely I thought this was definitely a self-aware comic. This was definitely quintessential Grant Morrison. Very self-aware. I mean, they mention obviously representation in this. They mention COVID-19 in this as well.
Yeah.
Which might be a collector's item of an issue, because I don't recall COVID being mentioned in anything else that we've been reading recently. So it's a very self-aware, very true Grant Morrison book, for sure.
And like we've said in the past, or in the last episode, he's very clearly set this in the time and place of the 20th and 21st centuries, where it starts with JFK, and now we're in modern day when we're making reference to COVID and current events. So, he's definitely making an attempt to do that. We definitely get some Grant Morrison-isms here, like when Steele's like, I was exploring the data cosmos. Okay, Grant Morrison. Like,
so that whole sequence,
what is that? We don't know.
That whole sequence with Natasha blew my mind. Yeah. I did like the representation of like the trolls.
Yeah,
was quite.
Yes,
that was really clever.
You know what it reminded me of? It reminded me of the 7 deadly sins in Shazam.
Yeah,
that's what they reminded me of. But yes, we got all these introductions to some of the members of the Authority, including Natasha. And like I said, with the JSA thing, for people that aren't necessarily familiar with these characters, it was a nice little setup to get you to know them a little bit, at least for the story. But she looks so good. I love the suit as well. And then you've also got these like futuristic takes on like clickbait she's talking about as well. Obviously, you've got the COVID-19 thing, and then online trolls, and it's just.
Edgelord.
And what? Sorry.
Edgelords.
Yeah. But this, with Superman losing his powers, this is a perfect opportunity which Grant Morrison has definitely taken advantage of. He's brought back the Superman ship, which I'm happy to see it.
Whatever else I may think of Grant Morrison's interpretations of these characters over the years, I love whenever he gets to do the Fortress of Solitude, because he always puts in the Titanic, and the entire Titanic is in the fortress, and I love that. It should always be there. And did you guys catch all the time machines in this one panel? We've got the time machine from Time Machine the movie in like the 50s, and then we've got the one from the Guy Pearce version. We've got the DeLorean from Back to the Future. We've got the police box from Doctor Who, and the Wayback from Mr. Peabody and Sherman. So
I did not know any of those.
I cannot believe they got away with that. There's so many licensed IP in there. It's great.
I thought it was a phone box.
Well, I think they changed the color, because I think
that's probably why then.
It's clearly meant to be the Doctor Who because it's next to all the other time machines.
I guess so.
But essentially, this issue is a recruiting issue, isn't it?
Yeah. And I think the next one will be as well, because I'm sure there's still more characters that we haven't, on some of the covers that we haven't met yet.
I mean, I was quite surprised, because I remember a few years ago they introduced a new Justice League of America series with Batman was the leader, and they done the core title, but they ran alongside it spotlight issues for each new member, just in case you weren't familiar with them. I thought they could have done this with this, because we're spending an awful lot of time recruiting members of this team, and I think it's only 4 issues, if I'm not mistaken.
4. But then this is also why I think it's going to play into continuity, because not a lot has happened yet. There's still recruiting. There's still more to recruit, and you've got 2 issues left.
Continuity or not? Place your bets.
Continuity.
I'm talking to the listeners. Seriously.
Oh, okay. Well, that's my bet anyway. So then we're introduced to Apollo and the Midnighter, who are having some sort of lovers' tiff during a mission with regards to their anniversary and gifts. And then Midnighter wins the gift buying competition, of course, when he mentions that he's hooked them up with the Authority, and they get to work with Superman. And then we find out then that Apollo is a huge Superman fan, just like the rest of us. I'm not very familiar with these characters. I'd like what I've seen from this issue, and I'm looking forward to getting to know them a little bit more in the next few issues, and hopefully issues to come. But this is where I was talking about the reference to continuity. So that Midnighter says it's sexy dad Superman and not the skinny next generation one, which he's obviously talking about John Kent.
Yeah.
So that's why there's just in every issue so far there's been a little mention to sort of something that's going on in Action Comics and the Superman Son of Kal-El series, especially Action Comics, because we've seen those preview pages. I just think it's there's too many references for it not to be.
I mean, I really liked the inclusion of Midnighter and Apollo. Like you, I'm not too familiar with them. I believe they are remnants of the old DC imprint, which was, if I'm had it, Evan, do you remember? Wildstorm, wasn't it?
Oh, Wildstorm was a company that they acquired, or it's a title they acquired.
Yeah, I believe wasn't a Midnight and Apollo part of that, because I know they've tried to sort of like integrate them into the DC universe before. I think in the New 52 as well. There it goes again.
Yes, and I don't think it's, and like every time they've tried, it's like never took. Like it's never
quite gained traction.
Never stuck. Yeah.
Yeah. I think I've heard of Midnighter before, but I don't know hardly anything about them.
And I know, so you said earlier on as well, Mikkel Janin is the artist. I was under the impression the artwork changed in this issue, actually.
Yeah. I wrote this further down in my notes, but yeah, so each introduction that we've got has a different artist. So let me just skip to that one. So yeah, there's art by Fico Ossio, Evan Cagle, and Travis Foreman. Now I don't know who's done what, because it doesn't really say which pages they've done. So I don't know if you guys know, but yeah, I like how it's different artists on different different characters, because it kind of breaks it up a bit. I don't know, it just makes it seem like a different, so it's almost like a different comic issue story within one issue. Like you've got 3 different stories and 4 different artists.
I mentioned it because I love the artwork for the Midnighter and Apollo section. I thought it was beautiful.
Yeah, that's my favorite. And then the third one that we meet is the Enchantress. Now,
yes,
I think this is the introduction I like the least.
This was horrifying.
Yeah, I'm not really familiar with the character other than her portrayal in Suicide Squad, like the old film, which everyone disses. Well, it wasn't very good. Let's be honest. But yeah, I just had no idea what was going on, really. We know that she's in Arkham. She's got some problems, and Superman and the rest of the Authority turn up to break her out. What was that? There was like
quintessential Grant Morrison there. Quintessential Mark Morrison. Grant Morrison. I was going to say, Evan, the graffitied sign outside the asylum, I'm sure someone must have seen that works there and tried to scrub that off.
Yeah, for real. They're like, it's pretty apt description. We'll just leave it.
It's outside. We're clean on the inside. I just, that was the one. Like, I don't feel that connected to the character. I don't really particularly know why she's. I don't know. I just didn't get it.
I don't know why I don't really understand why such a unpredictable character would be part of the team.
And why would Superman break her out knowing that she's a bit of a liability?
Yeah, I mean, it's like with Harley Quinn in the Suicide Squad. I mean, she's just a normal gal, a bit off the rails. She can like go off mission if she wants. I don't know why you would necessarily trust her. And it's a bit like this situation, a bit too left field for me.
Yeah, didn't like that one. But yeah, this is a very like inclusive sort of character lineup. So you've got Manchester Black, who declares himself as being bisexual. Of course, Midnighter and Apollo are gay, but then it's also diverse in race too, because we've got Natasha Irons involved. So I quite like that, because obviously, like I said before, it shows that Superman is for and supports everyone. And
Natasha says she has ADHD as well.
Yeah. So people with that, it's got to be nice for them, and gay people and bisexual people and people of color to see characters like them in comics like this.
A high profile comic as well, no less.
Yeah, so it's just, I like that. We've already talked about the artwork. But yeah, in terms of the artwork, obviously Mikhail Yanin was my favorite because I'm a big fan of his anyway. But whoever did the Midnighter and Apollo artwork, that was really nice, especially the bit where Apollo swooped in to save Midnighter from some sort of beast. That was really cool. But yeah, like I said, there's 2 issues left of this miniseries, so there's still more people to recruit. There's still a lot more to cover. We still don't know particularly why. Well, we know bits, but we haven't seen why they've formed this separate group. And I feel like there's far too much to cover in 2 issues, and I think it's going to spill over. And we also got a glimpse of a very Mongol-looking character in the first issue, so I think it's definitely going to tie into Action Comics.
Are we going to say quickly the grey? Is that due to Superman being depowered? Are we saying that? Or is he?
I'm saying it's not continuity. It's not continuity.
Or is he possessed by Parallax? I'm just saying.
The inclusion of JFK, like, I think it cements it. There's no way it's in continuity. And we'll see.
That was only just a really small mention. I don't know. Well, for now. I don't know. There's too many. Yes, I don't know, there's just too. What are all these references then? So who's he talking about when he's on about the skinny next gen?
But
I think he's just talking about younger Superman.
This is all quintessential Grant Morrison, though, isn't it? It's open to interpretation. He talks about stuff that I sometimes feel you've perhaps missed. Like, in a lot of times that I've read a Grant Morrison book, I've quickly flipped back and gone like, "Oh, I didn't miss out." So,
yeah.
I don't know. I put my bet in there. I don't think it's continuity at all. So
what's the forfeit for whoever's wrong? What do they have to do? We're gonna have to think of something.
Yeah, maybe they have to read one of the other person's favorite comics or something. Who knows?
Or least favorite comics.
Yeah, least favorite. Ooh, that's good. That's good.
But what are you saying, Ashley?
Suicide Squad, the new movie.
Huh?
I'll talk about Suicide Squad, the new movie.
I'm watching it next week, so
right.
You can't.
Yeah, what do you say? Continuity or not?
Yeah. Hello, Ashley.
Oh, do I think it's in continuity or not?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh man, I just can't see how it can be because, we have a Superman at the moment. He doesn't have grey in his hair. This guy has grey in his hair.
All right.
We'll see. Not this is the future, but I mean, it could be the future because why wouldn't he turn to the League? And these characters that he's assembling aren't necessarily characters that we can identify now. Midnighter and Apollo aren't appearing in any other books at the moment, so we can't say maybe they're too old or too young. Natasha, likewise, she's not in anything at the moment that we could sort of pinpoint at. So I'm not too sure. I don't know. I'm enjoying the conversation. I can't wait to hear what. This is legitimately. It's a strange book. It's not my favorite book, but I enjoy reading it and I look forward to it and I anticipate it just for the conversation. I like hearing people's different takes on things. I loved when JFK appeared. That's great because Superman. When we talk about Superman in terms of now, what year was he born? What in terms of Superman now that appears in the comic books, what year was he born? So it's interesting. It's interesting to me.
I think out of all the comics, this is the one that's sort of open to interpretation a lot because we've all got different ideas as to what it could be.
Yeah.
Do we have time to talk about what we've been reading, just real quick?
Yeah, I've only read one, other than like the recent comics that have come out. So yeah, I can talk about that one. Do you want to go first then, Evan?
Sure. I read Batman '89. I really like that. I thought it's a cool continuation of the Tim Burton verse. I watched The Long Halloween Part 2. That was cool. I really liked that. Can't wait to talk about that. Let's see. I've been continuing to read the JLI, like the Bwahaha era of the Justice League, and it's just been continually hilarious, very funny. I've read Fantastic Four Life Story, which is a new, like they did with Spider-Man Life Story, where they've started him in the 60s and aged him in real time, and they're doing the same thing with Fantastic Four, and that has been very interesting, taking some unexpected twists and turns. And I've been following the continuing adventures of Teen Lantern in the Green Lantern series. That's been cool. And last but not least, I'll talk about a Superman thing I recently watched called Space Jam: A New Legacy. And Superman is in it from the Superman the Animated Series. They traveled to see him, and so is Wonder Woman. And I think they tried to make it look like so it's Wonder Woman from the comic books.
Nice.
Yeah, so it's very interesting. The rest of the movie, not great, but Superman's in it. So.
I wanted to ask, obviously, with Space Jam, because obviously Space Jam made its way over here as well, the original. And Michael Jordan is such a household name. I mean, everyone knows who Michael Jordan is.
To be fair, though, I wouldn't know who Michael Jordan is if it wasn't for Space Jam.
But you're so much younger than me and Evan as well, bro. But
I knew who he was, and I'm not a sports guy, and I knew who he was when the movie came.
I was going to ask Evan, LeBron, is he big enough?
I don't know.
I don't think I know anyone over here who knows who he is.
I know of him.
I've completely fallen off. Like I feel like Michael Jordan permeated every household, even if it was, like me. I'm not a sports person, but I knew who he was. LeBron, I don't know.
I know of him, but I couldn't tell you what team he played for or what. I don't even. Well, obviously it's basketball.
I don't know what the kids know. So, and for that matter, do the kids today even know Looney Tunes? Like it's not like they were, because back when I was a kid on Cartoon Network, they only had like 3 original shows and the rest are just playing Looney Tunes on loop all day, so I feel like they were much more in the culture back in the 90s.
Yeah.
And I just watched the original Space Jam after I saw this new one, and it's just so much better. Like they have a real plot and a real story, and this new one and then Bill Murray. That's great. Yeah. In this new one, I really feel like it's just a giant advertisement for other WB properties.
I haven't seen the new one. I will eventually. I know everyone's dissed it. That I know I've seen it, so I will watch it eventually. It's not on the top of my list, but I'll get to it. But I love Space Jam, the original one. It's probably when I was little, it was one of those films that I just watch over and over again. Like my mum hates it because I watched it that many times, and I used to actually spell my name Taz because I was obsessed with Tasmanian Devil. So all my friends now still spell my name Taz because of that. So
this new one, it doesn't even have like the R. Kelly stuff, and it doesn't have the the Space Jam rap. How are you even
stars aren't even in it, right?
I believe I can fly.
Disgraceful. I'll let you know what I think when I see it. Who?
The Monstars, they make a small cameo at for a couple of seconds. But the DC stuff is cool. It's nice in there. So it might be worth watching just for that if you're a Superman fan. So
yeah, I will watch it eventually. Ashley, what about you?
Okay, so I'm gonna go a bit left field. I read an Iron Fist graphic novel, which was a lot of fun. I watched 2 movies on Netflix and Prime respectively. One was called Sweet Girl, starring Jason Momoa. Dropped on Friday, which was very good. I really enjoyed it. I watched a movie with one of my favorite action stars, Frank Grillo. He was in a movie called Boss Level, which was interesting. It was an interesting take on the sort of time loop, kind of Groundhog Day kind of premise. And I'm a bit of a wrestling guy. Well, I'm a huge wrestling guy. And the co-writer of Drax the Destroyer from a few years ago, alongside Cullen Bunn, made his return to wrestling, Mr. CM Punk.
Do you know what? I don't even follow wrestling, but that was all over my timeline. Like he bought everyone ice cream apparently, and I don't know why I think much about it.
He's been gone for about 7 years, and he came back in his hometown of Chicago. in front of his fans, and the pop was sensational. So I watched that about a dozen times.
It's like you're speaking Chinese.
Yeah.
I have no idea what you're saying.
Oh, this guy, CM Punk, this guy, I'm sure a few of our viewers and listeners recognize his name, but he is a wrestler that has crossed. He has crossed the streams. He is all over. He's all over pop culture. You know, he's a comic book writer. He's an actor.
Okay.
And a wrestler. So that's what I done.
Nice.
Fair enough. If we're going into what we've been watching, I watched a good film on Netflix, it's like a horror film. It's called Aftermath, and it's like this. It starts off really cheesy. It's like this American couple that move into this new. Well, actually, it starts off the guy in the couple cleans houses of where people have been murdered.
Okay.
He's in this house cleaning, like someone's been shot, and so he's cleaning like the blood off the walls and stuff. And he then moves into that house because he gets a good deal on it, which, you know, that's sounding alarms already. And his wife is experiencing all these weird things which she thinks is all in her head because she's had sort of past experiences where she's kind of gone a bit delusional, so he doesn't believe her. But there's actually something sort of living in the house, which is just really good. It's like it's really jumpy. I love a horror film anyway, but it's a big plot twist, which is just great. I'm not going to tell you what it is because you need to watch it. And in terms of what I've been reading, today is the first day I've gone back to reading my reading order since even before I had the baby. Like I've just been slacking. So I read Superman's Power Jimmy Olsen issue 20, and it's from 1957. And yeah, there's just these ones are like really random stories. Like the first one was Superman finds a dinosaur egg, and Jimmy decides that he wants to take care of it so he can enter a contest for the most unusual pet where he'd win $10,000. And then he realizes that keeping a pet dinosaur isn't as easy as he thought, and it's cost him a fortune in terms of like food and damage that he's doing and all this sort of stuff, which is quite good. And then they end up sending him to a dinosaur planet that Superman can see from Earth, which is full of dinosaurs just like him, which I really like that one, actually. I love dinosaurs. The second one, it was like the trial of Jimmy Olsen, where one of the newspapers in Smallville basically asks him to help raise funds for the newspaper because they're about to go under. So Jimmy, because Superman's busy off planet, Jimmy decides he's going to help, and Superman's obviously going to be really happy that he's helped him. So he decides to go to Smallville to sell loads of Superboy souvenirs, which he goes to all these people's houses and tries to get their souvenir of Superboy to save. So you've got all these stories of what Superboy's done in the past, which is quite nice. And then basically, because Superman comes to carry it away, but because he's been exposed to some sort of chemical, it affects the souvenirs, and then Jimmy gets done basically for fraud. And he goes on trial because they think he's selling fake souvenirs, which is quite funny. And I'm trying to remember the third one. The third one was, I can't remember the title of it, but basically Jimmy Olsen goes fishing and thinks he's going fishing, and he catches a mermaid and gets pulled under with her, and she's like begging him, saying, please don't tell anyone, I don't want anyone to know. And she gives him it's like a magic mermaid ring, I think it's called, or merman ring, and with it he can breathe underwater. So he tries to do all these things, like finding treasure at the bottom of the sea and stuff like that, and it turns out it's all a bit of a hoax, and it's basically Superman playing a trick on him, because so basically Clark is writing a note at the Daily Planet, and Jim is lent on it, and the ink has gone onto his hand, but because he lent on it, it's back to front, so Jimmy can't read it, and Jimmy thinks it's from the ring and from this magic, but it's actually Clark's written Clark Kent is Superman, but backwards. So he's So Superman's trying to stop him from looking in a mirror because it will be the right way around, so he can't read it. It's really stupid, but it's really funny.
Sounds very whimsical.
Yeah, that's it. That's what all the Jimmy Olsens are like that, which, yeah, I really like the Jimmy Olsen stories because they're just like, those three are just the most random stories in one issue. But yeah, that's all I've read recently, other than the ones that we've reviewed and talked about already. And I think that wraps up all of the topics, or the many topics that we've had, and it's been quite a long episode actually. But first of all, just a big hello to our patrons from the House of Owl, Dave Owen and David Beasley. Huge thank you again to you guys for supporting the podcast, and also to the other patrons who do the same. It does mean a lot to us. It allows us to keep this thing running, so we really do appreciate it. And for those that aren't patrons just yet, you can help support us too, and you can find more details in the description of this podcast. But just before we go, I think now is probably a good time to announce our next special guest. So for those Superman fans who are looking forward to the new comic series Superman 78, you won't want to miss this. We've got the writer Robert Venditti on the show, so we're really excited to talk to him, and also for the comic book to come out, which at the time of recording will be tomorrow. So I'm hoping that this recording will be out today. Hold on, I'm confusing myself. I'm going to try and get the episode released on the Tuesday, so it matches with, corresponds with whatever, you know what I mean. But yeah, so the comic's out tomorrow, and we're going to be speaking to Robert next week, so we'll have that episode ready sort of by the end of next week. So yeah, if you have any questions for him that you want to know after reading the issue, let us know, and we'll try to include as many as we can. But yeah, we're really excited, and thank you to Robert for taking the time to speak with us, because I'm sure he's very busy with that comic coming out as well. And a huge thank you to you guys for taking the time to listen, and we'll see you next time for our interview.
All right. See ya.
Bye. Thank you all so much for taking the time to listen to this episode and previous episodes in the podcast if you have done so. Remember, if you're enjoying the show so far, please do subscribe, share the podcast with a friend, and most importantly, leave us a review. It's those reviews that really help with our visibility and success, and it only takes you a few moments to leave one. As well as that, if you want to find out more about us, head over to our website www.theaspiringkryptonian.com, and if you want to follow us individually on social media, we're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram and YouTube, so I'll drop those links in the episode description so you can get to know us a little bit better. A very quick shout out to some other very good Superman related podcasts and accounts that we love. The Last Sons of Krypton podcast, the Krypton Report podcast, and Adam Talking Superman over on Twitter. They have some really great Superman-centric discussions and are always dropping great Superman knowledge, so if you are looking for something similar to our show and our account, please be sure to check them out.